Meeting is called to order. The meeting is called to order. First item is electronic participation by a school board member. The member has discussed with me and they meet the guidelines for electronic participation. So is there a motion to approve the electronic participation?
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Connor and Dr. Tinsley and Mr. Andrews. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Gilio,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Dr. Gupta,
Yes.
Mrs. Preston,
Yes.
Mr. DePaul.
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie.
Yes.
Dr. Tinsley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Dr. Day, you're on board? You're there? Next is pledge. Today, we are honored to have Dr. Tinsley. He's a veteran on a Veterans Day. Please, if you can carry the pledge, please.
All right, so join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Tinsley. Thank you for all your service. Next one is approval of agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Mrs. Preston?
Motion to modify the agenda.
Yes, sir.
From a point of discipline, I'd like to add that we discuss change to JGD/JGE to include another condition to be referred for long-term suspension.
Okay. So how about when we come to that policy, we'll
Okay, if it,
modify that.
okay, it wasn't, I didn't see it on tonight's.
JDG is not there?
I didn't see it. If it is, then we'll come to it.
Yeah. So
Okay.
during that discussion, I promise you,
Thank
just
you.
remind me.
Sure,
Don't forget and run over.
fair enough.
It's not on there? So you want to add that?
I'd like to add that.
All right. So is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Mr. Connor, any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll for amended agenda?
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Gilio,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Dr. Day,
It's still not there.
Dr. Gupta,
Yes.
Mrs. Preston, Mr. DePaul.
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie.
Yes.
Dr. Tinsley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I think we have a pretty lengthy agenda today, so I'm going to skip the chair comments and move over to principal goal presentations. Dr. Copeland.
I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Pugh so she can get us kicked off with the principal presentation.
Thanks, Dr. Copeland. As you may remember, on September 17th, in the work session, the first group of principals presented some of their goals and information about what they're working on and focusing on. The second group today, Cohort B, is here to present to you just a brief overview of some of the things that they are working on, and they'll come back mid-year, probably February, to give you an update on some of those things. So we will go in the order as it's listed. I just want to remind principals that was in a communication, keep your presentations short, and school board members, if you have questions for a specific principal or about a specific school or practice, please write those questions down, and then I will take those questions from you. I will work with the principals to get you the answers, and we'll send those back out to you versus taking time today for a Q&A session. All right, so first up is Lori McVicker and Travis Marshall from R.S. Payne.
Welcome.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I am Lori McVicker, the principal of R.S. Payne Elementary School.
Travis Marshall, the assistant principal at R.S. Payne. So imagine, if you will, that you have a line of 29 dominoes lined up in front of you, and the first domino is only 5 millimeters tall. Each domino after that grows 1.5 times the size of the domino that comes before that one. By that math, the first domino is the size of a Tic Tac, and the 29th domino is the size of the Empire State Building. The laws of physics show that the tiniest domino can create a chain reaction big enough to knock down the largest domino. While this may seem like a silly comparison, R.S. Payne has an Empire-sized, or Empire State Building-sized domino in the form of student achievement. Simply put, we want every student in our building to succeed. So how do we knock over that domino? By knocking over every domino that comes before it. At R.S. Payne, we have 4 other dominoes that may appear ludicrously small to the untrained eye. However, each domino holds the power to knock down the larger task ahead. Ultimately, the goal of student achievement must be preceded by the momentum of the smaller dominoes falling before it. Our 5 dominoes are simple, and they fall in this order. To begin the chain of reaction, we have the smallest domino, and also the only domino that requires a little push, and that is relationships. The second domino is engagement, and the third is attendance. The fourth is behavior, and the fifth domino, our Empire State Building, student achievement. With all of that on the table, we wanted to briefly take some time to talk about the efforts that the RS Payne team is putting into each of these dominoes.
So let's first talk about relationships. That is number one. We all know in education that if we don't have strong relationships with our students and our parents and the community, then that is number one. You have to have that as the foundation. And so we have a really amazing office team that just holds to hospitality and customer service as number one. And that's just the beginning. We did something this is the second year of something called Service Learning Projects, that we have had some amazing community members come behind us and partner with us and help us to have our students experience being able to go out into the community and see what is an opportunity for them to serve others and come outside of themselves and see the opportunities that they have. And so that has built some really strong relationships across the school with community members, with community organizations, and with our parents who have also partnered with us to do that. And then another big one is thinking about even things as small as open house, like where we had the typical open house. This year, we really wanted to change that to bring the community members that have been helping us, and how do we do a block party with those community members involved and really make it just a dragon family across the board, including our community and all of our neighbors.
So our next domino up is engagement, and RS Payne's been tackling that by shifting from worksheets to hands-on learning. And then we are focused on manipulatives being in every single classroom and engagement protocols, and focused on getting kids excited to be in the building, in the classroom, excited to learn, happy to be there.
Attendance. We all know attendance is a huge thing. We want students to be in school. And we have a great attendance team that has really increased social media presence as much as possible, as well as things going out to families consistently. And then we have done an initiative last year and this year called Show Up Days. The students get really, really excited. Everybody gets on the intercom and says, "Show Up Day!" And everybody screams, and they get a prize if they are there that day for the Show Up Day. So that is something that has increased attendance on those days. We want that to continue with others as well.
And our fourth domino, which is behavior, a lot of people might think that this might be number one, but you have to knock down these other dominoes to get to behavior. So in RS Payne, we're looking at giving kids dragon dollars for exceptional behavior and doing what needs to be happening in class and staying engaged and staying focused. We also have the dragon wagon that comes around that allows those kids to spend those dragon dollars on cool little prizes and trinkets and fun stuff throughout the month. We also have the Dragon Pride events that we have at our school regularly, and that is something that is a PBIS initiative that focuses on kids who are, staying, referral free and doing exceptional things throughout the month. We also have our awards assemblies and the bike program. We have social emotional learning videos that get pushed out. Those include staff and students in those videos, so we try and include everybody throughout that process. We have a mindfulness program that we're piloting at RS Payne as well, and we are pushing that primarily in the mornings, and that is focused towards deep breathing and squared breathing and getting kids ready for the day, to get rid of that anxiety that they have about coming to school sometimes. That also occurs during transitional times. We also have our red carpet walks, and this is something near and dear to my heart. I tend to get a little overexcited when we have positive referrals in our building. I literally roll out a red carpet from the office, and I go absolutely crazy. I shout, I hoot and holler, and then kids walk down the red carpet and into an office that is filled with people that are clapping and cheering, and they get a prize out of the treasure box, and then they carry on with their day. But it is a super, super cool experience for the kids who go above and beyond in our building. And on that note, on the behavior side of things, We crunched some numbers the other day. We are at a 32% decrease compared to quarter one data last year as far as behavior incidents go.
All right. So, where are we with student achievement? So if we look at it, I'm just going to throw out some numbers. So our English academic achievement for all students has increased 6%. Our gap group of Black students has increased 2%, increase for our gap group of economically disadvantaged students, 8%, and our Hispanic students increased 46%. So in math, our overall increase was 20%, and then increase for our gap group of Black students was 18%, and then increase for our economically disadvantaged students is 26%, and then increase for our gap group of Hispanic students was actually 114% for that group from one year to the next. So what steps do we need to take to be able to continue? We need to increase the capacity and knowledge of our teachers, or what we have done, I'm sorry. So we increased capacity and knowledge of our teachers. We did a lot of summer work. We were able to get a school improvement grant, did some summer work with backwards design, cross-curricular, lesson planning, engagement strategies. We also have been doing some professional books on trauma and engagement and just a tremendous amount of different things. And we had a really, really great turnout of staff this summer. And then we work in PLCs, and we're gonna be doing some workshops on lesson planning, alignment, high yield teaching strategies, because we do have a very young teaching staff. And so continuing to build their capacity is one of the big things. And so we have continued work to do. And so we're going to continue on all of that, those different things that we have been doing. So thank you for the opportunity to share and about our awesome community. So we look forward to sharing with you in the spring. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next is Sandusky Elementary School, Derek Womack and Josh Boyd, and then after that, Paul Monroe. Okay, we'll cue up the...
Welcome.
Good evening, school board members. First, I would like to introduce myself to you all who may not know me. Just kidding, just kidding. Derek Womack, proud principal of Sandusky Elementary School. I think I've seen a few of you before. Thank you for this opportunity to come and just speak briefly about Sandusky and where we stand, where we're going, and the positive things that are going on. With me is my trusty sidekick, Dr. Boyd. He's not a doctor yet, but I definitely call him Dr. Boyd. Couldn't do what we do without the support that he's providing this year. And so I am going to stick to the 3 to 4 minutes that was shared. We have a lot of work to do, and we know that looking at the scores. You all have already seen the scores in math, science, reading, as well as social studies that come out, the attendance scores. And so I won't bore you with going into those details, as you already have that information for you. I will share with you that science is a level 3 this year. And so that's a major focus for us for this year. And so we're digging into professional learning communities. We're going in every week talking about science at each grade level, looking at the standards, digging deeper into the standards to see, making sure that we're digging deep enough and providing the rigor, not just with the hands-on materials, but also how they're being assessed. What are they being assessed on? Making sure that lines up with what the SOL is going to ask them. And so not only will you see hands-on materials in the hands of students during the day, but you'll also see in those assessments, making sure that they are moving, that they are manipulating on the screen, because they don't have to do that in person, they have to do it on that screen. And so we want to make sure that what we're digging into, what we're presenting the children on a daily basis is lining up with how they're going to be assessed on the SOL. So that's our professional learning community work. The other thing that we're doing is looking at common assessments, making sure those assessments line up with what the SOL is going to look like. Oftentimes we give an assessment, and when we get to the end, we recognize, wait a minute, that's not how they're assessed. And so if we make sure that our common assessments weekly, then our formative and summative assessments line up with what the SOL is asking, then we're feeling that we're going to have greater results at the end of the year. And those are the things that we've done in math and reading last year, and we want to continue to do those things in science this year, as we saw gains in math and reading last year. And Dr. Boyd is going to speak about some other things we're doing in science.
And just to piggyback off of what Mr. Womack had said, we are providing weekly feedback to teachers on their science lesson plans. Again, looking at the rigor, looking at the alignment, to be able to provide that feedback that they need weekly to be able to make plans as they go. Science is so much about doing, learning by doing. And so one of the things that we're asking teachers to do is to do more STEM and project-based learning, actually getting their hands into that science, even looking at trying to get some partners in on that learning as well. But making science relevant and meaningful is critical to them learning science and doing it. Then also making sure that our PLCs our teachers are using space practice. So you have to learn science every day. You can't learn it 1 week here and then go back to it 2 weeks later. You've got to learn it every day so that students are able to do an experiment over a couple week period or 1 week period. And so those are just some of the things that we are doing to improve our science scores for all of our students.
And then the last thing that I'll say is the motto of Sandusky Elementary. I won't quiz you all on this, but all of you should know what the motto of Sandusky Elementary School is. We do it better.
We do it together.
Goodness, I thought it was going to be better than that. But with that being said, we want to put some of those materials in the hands of our parents, our number one partners in education. And that's how we're going to make the needle move to where it needs to move. So we invite you to come in as you all have opportunities. But when you come in, be prepared to get to work. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much. And joining Mr. Boyd is Principal Donna Bear from Palm Monroe.
Welcome.
Good evening, and thank you for having us here tonight. We're so happy to have the opportunity to share with you the progress that we're seeing at Palm Monroe. I am very proud of our teachers and our students, and I am very pleased to be able to report that we are fully accredited in all areas. English, all of our students, 91%. If you look at all students in math, we have a 91% rate as well, and in science, 83%. And looking at those scores, I am ready to celebrate. However, when you start digging just a little bit deeper, you start realizing that we still have quite a bit of work to do. And we believe at Palm Monroe that all children can learn and all children can achieve. And so when you're looking at our data and you look at the percentages for our students with special needs, we see a gap. And it is our goal this year to decrease the, we want to decrease the achievement gap in special education. So at this time, if you look at our reading, some of the strategies that we are trying some evidence-based reading programs. If you walk into our school, you would see all of our classrooms using the new benchmark reading series. You would see U-Fly, Foundations, and you would see Hegarty, Bridging the Gap. All of these programs have a very balanced approach to learning, and this is how we're going to make goals with our children. We also work very, very hard to have our special education teachers teaming with the general education teachers so that we can put our heads together and we can make a plan for the children that are not achieving at the rate they could be. They work together during PLC times. They have times during the day where they can sit down together and have a common planning period. And we also do quite a few data dives looking to see where we are being successful and where it is that we need to go to move that needle. Okay, and literacy block. If you are in kindergarten through second grade, you're going to get 2.5 hours of language arts daily. If you're in third through fifth grades, you're going to get 2 hours. And this program is very structured. You're going to see teachers teaching phonics. You're going to see comprehension lessons with the benchmark. You're going to see lots of writing in response to reading. And we're going back and we're looking at that grammar. How can we be better writers? Also, we're doing a lot of cross-curricular teaching. And what does this mean? This means that when you're sitting in a science class, you're not only learning science content, but you're going to learn some reading skills. When you're in social studies, the same thing. We're pulling that reading instruction into science and into social studies. You might be in a math class and you might see a teacher with a journal saying, okay, we're going to work in our math journals today. So children are writing and they're using those reading skills in math as well, because we know reading is everything. You need to be able to read to do any type of content. Data collection. Special needs teachers have data notebooks. They are consistently looking at their students' achievement. They're monitoring their goals, and all of that is being recorded in those data notebooks. We want to see, all right, is this working? Do we need to change our strategy? We're having those data dives constantly.
So if you're familiar with John Hattie's research about student achievement, you know that one of the greatest determinants of student achievement is collective teacher efficacy. And so I think the collaboration between the general education and special education teachers in PLCs is so critical, that they are pushing into PLCs to help provide support and help make instructional decisions for the grade level, not just as somebody who's adding on, but an actual teacher in that grade level is going to be really powerful for our special education teachers. Using evidence-based practices, such as explicit instruction, using research-based strategies, such as number talks and building fact fluency are going to be really critical for our students, because they're going to be enhancing their problem-solving strategies. Something that Ms. Baer talked about was math journals. So math journals promote reflection of their problem-solving strategies and makes thinking visible and reinforces those key concepts through writing. And then ultimately, making sure that we are collecting accurate data in our data notebooks and then talking about those data notebooks in PLCs or in admin and teacher meetings as well.
Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to speak with you tonight.
Thank you.
Next we have Bedford Hills, and then Heritage, followed by Lincoln Elementary.
Good evening. I'm Sherry Steele, principal at Bedford Hills, and this is our assistant principal sitting back there, Donna Ranker. She didn't want to come up here. That's all right. All right. So we do a lot of those things you've already heard. So I'll highlight some of the things that we're doing. As Jim Collins says in the book Good to Great, we have the right people in the right seats, and we're moving in the right direction, and we're all moving in the same direction. We call it the Husky way every day. It means that the more we're consistent, the more we're all moving in the same direction, pulling together, we're going to be successful together. So we are a PLC. A lot of people talk about PLC as being that time that you meet. We call that our achievement collaboration teams, which also means ACT, because we're going to act, we're going to do something about it. We're not just looking at data to look at it. We're going to develop plans. We're going to individualize. We're going to make sure we're using evidence-based research and really do something about what we're doing. We function as a PLC. That's how we are. I invite you to come anytime. You can sneak in the back and go in the teacher's lounge, and you could just listen and hear. And what you're going to hear is adults talking about children, success, what can we do, what kind of strategies do you have, how can we do this better, what do you know that I don't that you can help me with. So everything that we're doing all day is positive, it's student-centered, and we're very solution-oriented. So I invite you to come anytime. You go into Kroger, you can turn down Mimosa, stop in, pop in. We'd love to have you there. We work not only across grade levels, but we also work through the grade levels. So when we're talking about math instruction, we're making sure we're talking about what kindergarten looks like, 5th grade, and everything in between to make sure that we're all aligned and really working together. We take our responsibility as a foundation of education very seriously. I know on day one in kindergarten, what we do at Bedford Hills matters to the graduation rate at EC class. So, we come to work every day with that mindset. Every day matters, every minute matters, what learning is going on, what can we do, and how can we do it better as we all work together. So, we also have a wonderful counselor, Ms. Darby, and we are working a whole lot on the attendance piece. We have to get our kids to school on time, ready to learn. when they come in late, it not only impacts them, it impacts everyone in the classroom because the teacher has to stop. They have to get that child orientated. All the learning is stopping as children are coming in late. So we're really trying to get to the root of why are you not in school? Why can't you get here on time? And what can we do to support you? So we do some incentive programs and things like that, and prizes and that sort of thing is great, but really you have to dig into the root. Why are you not here? What's going on? Is it a mental health issue? Is it a I can't sleep at night issue? What's going on so we can find a solution and really help all our kids get to school. So we've been working really hard on that this year, and we of course engage in our families. We are going to have a kindergarten through second grade night where we're going to do Orton Gillingham in a Bag is called OG night. We're going to teach our parents how to work with their kids at home, what they can do. We're going to have 3 through 5 math night where we're going to give them math manipulatives and different kind of activities. I always say the grocery store and the car are 2 great places to learn. When you're driving to soccer and ballet and everything else, talk about math, talk about reading, talk about what you see, shapes, colors, sizes, anything. Have conversations with your children about what they need to learn. So we really, really engage our parents and make them a part of the process. We are doing individual reading plans for every child who is considered high risk on the new VALS assessment. So parents are involved in that process. And we want to make sure they really understand how they can help their children at home. And sometimes it's just be positive about school. Get your kid to school on time, be positive. That's very, very helpful to us, and we appreciate that. So not only do we, a lot of times we focus on the weaknesses as educators, but at Bedford Hills, we really focus on the positives. We focus on the strengths. We come at challenges from a strengths-based perspective so that we find what are you really good at, what are you strong at, and how can we use that to help you with your weaknesses. And we also have a lot of kids who are coming in ready to learn every day. So what are we doing to challenge those kids, to accelerate their learning, to get them up and make learning exciting and engaging and challenging for them every day? So we always keep that our focus. But we invite you to come anytime, stop by. If you let me know you're coming, I'll make snacks, and I'll get you drinks. If you just show up, you're going to get what I have in my candy jar. But come on by, we'd love to have you there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Anderson and Mr. Boyers?
Great evening, Dr. Copeland, School Board Chair, Dr. Gupta, and esteemed members of the school board. I am Sharon Anderson, the proud principal at Heritage Elementary School, #1 Little Orange Country. And I have with me my assistant principal, and he just had surgery, and he's in a lot of pain, so he will not speak today. He'll just stand here and hold some things up for me, so thank you for being here. At Heritage Elementary School, our mission is to help every student succeed, and our vision is every child, every day, in every way to individual success. This evening, I will focus on our guiding principles: achievement, behavior, and culture, our ABCs of success. We are proud that based on our spring SOL results, we are level 1 in English for all students and level 1 in math for all students. Although we are proud of our achievement, we are keenly aware of the growth opportunities and challenges that we still have in the area of reading, math, and science. Based on our spring SOL data, we are a level 3 for one of our achievement gap groups in reading, and a level 3 in 2 of our achievement gap groups in math, and a level 3 in science. To address our achievement gaps, Heritage is currently implementing targeted strategies in reading, math, and science that consist of the following: professional development around the new literacy benchmark adoption and effective implementation of the adoption through classroom observations and feedback; continued professional collaborative meetings with teachers focusing on unpacking standards, identifying essential standards, lesson plans, and assessment alignment. Professional staff have established SMART goals focused on closing the achievement gap among lower performing student groups, with progress closely monitored by administrators.
Ms. Anderson, could you hold this for a minute? Let us make it that quiet, this background.
Okay. No.
I apologize.
I was trying to use my 5 minutes wisely.
We'll extend it.
Go ahead.
Okay. We're continuing with achievement. A, balance of computer time and teacher time during the instructional day. Daily DEAR time, drop everything and read. Individual reading plans for students in grades K through 3 that is progress monitored every 3 weeks. Grade level common assessments. Interactive notebooks for English, math, and science. Student accountability for their achievement. Each student has their own student data notebooks where they record their IXL data as well as grades on assessments so that they can progress monitor their growth in reading, math, and science. Consistent and intentional classroom observations with specific feedback. Building teacher efficacy and confidence, specifically classified and provisional licensed teachers, and teaching reading, math, and science by attending the division level academies. Parent involvement to assist in boosting students' fact fluency by sending home math practice activities and flashcards. Incorporation of reading, math, and science into larger parent engagement nights, as well as parent small groups to build their confidence in helping their students at home. As well as our flashbacks that includes math facts, science vocabulary, and magnets that include the scientific method. Effective use of the division science kits. Hands-on science experiments. Quarterly data dumps with staff using the most recent assessments and grades to determine the progress of students and to develop plans if students are underperforming. Daily student participation in all-in tutoring. And after-school intervention groups 3 days per week for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades. Behavior, B. We are proud to report that the number of referrals and out-of-school suspensions have decreased significantly compared to last year at this time. We celebrate this achievement, and our goal is to sustain this positive trend. This year, we have continued to implement several strategies, lessons, and activities to ensure continued success. We continue to have Virginia tiered system of supports led by Mr. Boyers, our assistant principal. They meet after school once per month with our restorative clinician, behavior coach, and grade level representatives to review behaviors and implement school-wide plans and incentives. Student of the Week recognition. School counselors focus on bullying during classroom guidance. And our behavior team pushes into classrooms to support behaviors to attempt to keep students in the classroom during instructional time as much as possible. C, culture. At Heritage Elementary, we believe that student success is a shared responsibility, and we are committed to fostering a culture of collaboration among all stakeholders. We engage our parents through our HES Flash programs, Families Learning at School and Home, evening family engagement events, as well as small group sessions. We also actively engage our community members, i.e. our mayor, school board members, local organizations in supporting our students' growth. We partner with students from Liberty University who work with our 2nd grade students in reading and math. One Community, One Voice supports student attendance. Future educators from Heritage High School's Teachers for Tomorrow, and many dedicated student teachers and reading volunteers all play a vital role in contributing to academic success of our students. Together, we are all in, working side by side to ensure that every child thrives in number 1, Little Orange Country. Thank you.
Dr. Gizlowski, Lincoln Elementary School, and then the last will be Darrington Elementary, Dunbar Middle School, and Hutcherson.
Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Lillian Gizlowski, principal at Lincoln Elementary School. Thank you all for the opportunity to share our school's goals and progress and plans for this upcoming school year, or this current school year. At Lincoln Elementary, our primary goal this year is to make substantial improvements in literacy. Currently, we are working under accreditation with conditions, and we believe that literacy is most important. It's our focus for the year because it is so foundational to all other learning and future academic success for our students. Our supporting goals include enhancing mathematics achievement and reducing chronic absenteeism. Math performance at Lincoln is currently at 39% proficiency, which does show a need for targeted growth, particularly among our economically disadvantaged students and students with disabilities. Additionally, 20% of our students were chronically absent last year, and we recognize, of course, the critical role that attendance plays in student achievement, and we're working to bring that down, hopefully within the state and local goals of 10%. To achieve these goals, we've implemented several strategies. For parental engagement, we're working to build stronger family connections through multiple channels, communication, class dojo, newsletters, in-person events. We've introduced a PEP Squad this year for PEP Squad, positively engaged parents, to help kind of foster a supportive environment for our faculty and staff and our students, and to help strengthen that connection between the families and the school. We have Title I family events, book nights for families. We just had our Halloween open house, so we're trying to make sure that families come in a positive way and that the students get to see that. Student engagement is another focus area. We've developed targeted interventions and small group sessions that emphasize vocabulary development, comprehension skills, and foundational math concepts, areas that the data indicate require more support. Our instructional practices center on collaboration and data. The professional learning communities, our teachers analyze student data, develop standards-aligned lessons, and create common assessments. By using data-driven instruction, we're able to track progress and adapt the teaching strategies to meet the unique needs of our underperforming groups. For example, last year, our third grade team worked collaboratively to implement data-driven grouping across the grade level. They saw a reduction of almost 35% of their students not needing Title I services at the end of the school year compared with the beginning of the school year. In addition, their math testing and fall growth assessment, the majority of the students, the average, were in range 1, which is the lowest range you can be on those growth assessments. By the end of the school, the average students were in range 4. And just to give you a sense, the state sees 1 band growth as being growth, and those students went from range 1 to range 4. So we're trying to take what third grade is doing and kind of size that out for the rest of the building. Professional development is also key. Our teachers participate in ongoing training, focusing on evidence-based literacy and math interventions, assuring that we're equipping our teachers with effective strategies to help support students. Community engagement also plays a part in our efforts. We're continuing our partnership with the University of Williamsburg. They continue to have reading classes that take place in our building, and their students get to work with our students, and both the big kids at the university and the little kids at our school get so much out of that connection. Getting to work together, those hopefully future teachers get to see what it's really like to have an impact on the students and to work with students, and our students get to have role models that look a little bit more like them at times. To monitor progress and accountability, we regularly review literacy and math data, especially looking at tracking proficiency, tracking growth, especially for our economically disadvantaged and students with disabilities. In closing, we're fully committed to trying to help all of our students be the best that they can be and to really succeed as every way possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Welcome.
I came in and said, I hope they go in alphabetical order so I can go first. And then, of course, I signed up last, so I'm last. My name is Jason Tambrone, and I'm in my second year as principal of Darrington Elementary School for Innovation. We are considered the dynamic Darrington Dolphins, and so I'm very proud to be up here. I can say a lot about what's going on at Darrington, and it'll sound a lot like what you heard of earlier this evening. As a second-year principal, one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I did was to surround myself with people who have been making a difference, and so these principals who you've heard from this evening, as well as the ones you heard from a couple of months ago, they have wrapped themselves around me to make sure that I know what I need to know so that we can be successful. So a lot of what you heard is a lot of what I am doing. But I want to talk to you about one that I'm proud of, that we are at level 1 for all of our areas except for science. And I will tell you how we'll address that. But one of the areas that I was very proud of is attendance. When I got to Darrington, our attendance, we were at level 2. And so I made it my business that I wanted to make sure that we change that, because students have to be there in order to get the instruction. And so one of the ways that I did that was by building a strong relationship with the families. And that made a huge difference. So we ended last year where we are now at level 1 with attendance, as well as our other academic areas besides science. So I'm very proud about that. But that is great, but we've got to stay there. It took work to get there, and it's going to take work to stay there. And so this is what we're doing. As principal, I see that it is very important that we look at 3 areas to make the success stay. One is our parent, family, and community connections. And what that means is, one, we've got to get the families and the parents to buy into what's going on at Darrington so they understand the importance of the students seeing their collaboration with us. We're a team. And so, one, we have family members, and they have been coming out to all of our events. So much so that we now have to do our family events in 2 shifts because we couldn't house all of the family members that were coming. That's a great problem to have. And so we have an event coming up on November 14th, which you all are invited to come. Just let me know. But you all are invited to come. But that way, now parents are hearing the information from me. They are now engaged. And so now that translated into their students being engaged. Because the families see our heart, not just our heart, but they also see our effort in really educating their students. And so the parents and the family members are excited. So that was one way. Another way was with our community members. A couple of you all, or some of you all, have been at my school. You've read to my students. You have shown that you care, and we appreciate that. Thank you very much. But also we have other community leaders, sororities. We have Liberty University. We have University of Lynchburg. They come into my building during the day, and they help us to supply our students with some during the day tutoring, where we're able to have intentional small groups that we can actually work with them on specific areas that they are finding some trouble with. So you can come to Darrington on any given day, and you will see many small groups where students are getting that one-on-one attention to help them with their language arts or with their math or with their science. And speaking of science, we are doing something very intentional to get our science scores up. We have something called Saturday Science. And so what we're doing with that is once a month on the second Saturday, our students come to school on a Saturday, and it's been absolutely fantastic. We have partnerships with Camp Kumbaya, we have partnerships with FunQuest, and we are, again, digging into the science, and there's a lot of hands-on experiments and things like that, so they are actually able to see what they've been learning about in the classroom. They are actually able to see it. Last 2 Saturdays ago, I went to Camp Kumbaya with our students, and they had such a great time there, and one of the students said, "Oh, I don't want to leave the woods." And we were able to show them that everything you're seeing here is actually at DESI as well. And so you can still do science outside at DESI. So that's an exciting thing that we're doing. We also are looking at our SOL standards in science, and we're doing questions of the day. So we're actually preparing them now to be able to take the SOLs coming in the spring. So I'm excited about that. Another way that we are reaching the student, and again, this 3 to 5 minutes, y'all, I cannot tell you enough about what we're doing, so I hope you're getting it. But just come to DESI. I promise you, you will see a lot of what's going on. But the whole child. We've got, what I've realized is that before you can teach a child 2 + 2 is 4, you've got to really show them that they are valued and that you value them. So we are looking on the inside of our students, and how we're doing that is, one, every single day they're learning affirmations, and they say every day, and if you've been to DESI, you've heard it, I am smart, I am important, I am hardworking, I am respectful, I am good looking, and I'm the best part of the future. They say it every single day. Also, what we're doing is we're doing mentoring with our students. So I've come through Lynchburg City Schools as a mentor since 1994. So what we do on Thursdays at 10 o'clock, we stop what we're doing for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades. And so our boys come into the cafeteria with me, and there they are learning how to be good citizens, not just good students, but good citizens, how to show respect, They're learning how to tie a tie. They're learning things like how to shake a hand, how to look somebody in the eye. So we're taking the time to actually build them up from the inside. And then our young ladies, who we have deemed the queens, the DESI queens, we have 3 of our adults in our building that meet with them and teach them certain character traits that they will need. And so we're, again, starting from the inside, and then we're teaching them on the outside. We have seen such a great change in behavior, because that was a huge issue at the beginning of the school year. We attacked that thing like it was really important, because it was impacting what they were getting as far as knowledge. And so what happened is now we have students who are now raising their hands. They're not calling out. They're not just jumping out of their seats, because they're learning how to be good students. That was important for us to teach them, so that we can then teach them the language arts and the math and the science and things like that. And then lastly, another area that we wanted to address is our staff. We've got to make sure that our staff members are equipped with the tools that they need in order to teach. So in addition to the division-wide trainings that are being offered that they attend, we do trainings within our building. For instance, like I said, we were having issues with behavior. So we had our behavior coach and the VSBA come in and to train our teachers on how to act, and it was a month-long training on how to actually do classroom management. We saw a huge difference. Once they graduated from that month training, we saw a huge difference in how they were approaching the behaviors in the class, and we saw the referrals go down. We also are doing lesson plan training. Some of our teachers, this is their first year. They don't know the procedures of lesson plans the way that some of our veterans do. So we're teaching them about lesson plans. We're digging into the data. We're showing them how to look into data for themselves and how to tier their students off so that the students are getting the attention that they need. But also the principal needs the training as well. So again, I have kind of put together my own council of principals that I go to say, hey, I need your help. What would you do with this, or what would you do with that? And so I'm grateful for that. I also take advantage of trainings that are outside of the division. I'll be going to Roanoke next week. I'll be going to JMU coming up, because I want to be better so that I'm better for my building. And lastly, I just want to mention some things I want to make sure I didn't forget. So I wrote them down. I think I have a minute and 30 seconds. So we have our PLCs. I love PLCs. I love what we're doing. But let me say this about that. What I really love is the staff that we have at DESI. Let me put this paper away. The staff that we have at DESI, that's what's making the difference. They work together. It's an all hands on deck. And I know you all have great staff members. I have some of the best staff members ever at DESI. And what they do, they go way beyond the call of duty to make sure our students are getting what they need. Not only that, but we are digging into that data to make sure we understand what we need to do. One of my colleagues, Ms. Foster, she said in her presentation, when you see that the students are not getting it, then what? And so I've taken that model. If we see that the students are not getting it, then what do we do? And we don't leave the table until we figure out what to do. We involve the community, we involve the parents, we involve each other, we involve other teachers and other schools, because it's that important. We're going to continue to see our numbers go up because we're going to put in the work. Lastly, I want to say, this is what I told my teachers. I don't want you to teach to say you taught. I want you to teach so students can say and show what they learn. And that's what we're doing this year. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks again for having us here tonight. So we're going to share a little bit about what's been happening in Poet Nation. When it was really, really stormy back in September, and others in our side of the country were experiencing hurricane difficulties, our families showed up and showed out up at Dunbar. So we do student-led conferences, and so that means parents don't just come to meet with teachers by themselves. They bring their students, because we know students are a big part of the conversations that we need to be having. They're part of the goal making. They're part of the academic process. They're part of behavior. And so we had 370 conversations with students and teachers at Dunbar in September. 270 of those had students participating, so about 73%. So we were super excited to have them seated with us as we talk about their academic success and their future goals. We also revamped our sixth grade to be operating in 2 cohorts. So we have a purple cohort and a gold cohort. And so similar to the elementary model, we know moving to middle school is a little bit challenging for some sixth graders. And so this allowed them to have the support of a network of core teachers to help them bridge that gap between elementary and middle school. And so we've seen great success with that. We've seen a decrease in our behaviors as well. And the teachers have each other to lean on when maybe they're having some academic concerns or maybe some attention concerns or maybe a behavior concern with the student. Then they can talk with each other about strategies that work for that child. And then lastly, we are talking a little bit about our work that we did as admin. So last year, we kind of fell in with a grade level just because we were all new together. Besides Ms. Burns, we joined her. And so I took 6th grade last year, and so Carrie took 7th grade, and Ms. Burns remained with 8th. And so this year, we actually had Carrie loop up with those students and families that she had gotten so comfortable with and knew so much about, so that she would be a great voice for the teachers and help with strategies and things that we'd seen success with. So this year, I'm with 6th because of the new cohort model that we took, but the goal is for me to move up with those until they're 8th graders. And then Ms. Burns is with 7th, and she'll move up with those 8th graders next year. And so we're excited about the success we're seeing with our families.
Good afternoon, school board members. Dr. Copeland. I'm Mrs. Burns, as Dr. Baldwin already stated. I am the 7th grade administrator at Dunbar, in addition to the athletic director as well. So I have the joy of talking about our athletic program at Dunbar. So first, to start, at the beginning of each season, all student athletes and their parents, guardians, or their entire family, whomever they bring, they are required to attend a mandatory parent meeting. And including, during that meeting, we discussed expectations for the season, but mostly including grades and behavior. And then a huge part of the contract focuses on academics and student conduct. And to ensure that our students keep their academics on the forefront for that season, there's a mandatory 1-hour study hall prior to any practice at Dunbar. That's something that we were more intentional with this school year, and we have seen great success in that in our student academics when we got our first quarter report cards. Next, I'm going to talk more about our Poise academic team. In an effort to align Dunbar's athletic program with the Virginia High School League academic requirements and eligibility standards, Dunbar coaches, teachers, and administrators have had an intentional focus on student academic achievements, not just in season, but out of season as well. As we all know that students are going to work when they're incentivized, and during their season, they're incentivized by being involved in their respective sport or academic team. We do see some of our student athletes' academics decline significantly in this division when they're not involved in a sport or some type of club or academic team within a division. So our ultimate goal is to make sure every student who is part of Dunbar's athletic program is to be more than prepared to transition successfully to the next grade and ultimately to high school, and have an opportunity to contribute to the success of our athletic programs, our academic programs, and as a whole, Lynchburg City Schools athletic programs and academic programs. For the fall sports season, which we just concluded yesterday, Dunbar had 89 student athletes that were on the football team, volleyball team, boys and girls tennis, cross country, or cheerleading. Of those 89 student athletes, 65, which is 73%, made the Poise All Academic team. And they will be recognized at our fall sports academic banquet that's going to be held in December. And in order to make the team, they have to have A, B's, and C's, no D's, no F's. And we had 73% of our students that's going to be recognized. Out of 5 of 6 of our teams, 5 5 of our teams had an 80% or better team average that made the academic, all ports academic team. Needless to say, we are extremely proud of the great display of character, sportsmanship, and high academic achievements from all Dunbar student athletes and students as a whole. And we are truly thankful and blessed to have coaches, teachers, parents, volunteers, and community members who invest countless, let me say that again, invest countless hours of hard work and dedication to make sure that our students have all of the tools to be successful in the school as well as in their own communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Thank you, Dr. Baldwin. Thank you, Ms. Burns. I'm Carrie Wills, the proud assistant principal at Dunbar, and I would like to thank these fine ladies for taking a chance on me. So with careful review of our data, we first decided we needed purposeful scheduling, so we blocked off 5th period, and all of our students in 5th period attend All In, an intervention and innovations, a resource. We wanted to be able to offer our kids groups that were fluid based on data. Oftentimes, the same kids are in intervention groups, and they rarely get to participate in innovative activities, and we wanted to make sure that we offered that to our students, so it wasn't a full year of intervention. If they have shown growth, then they can move to an innovative class. Also, with our interventions in Poets Block for 5th period, we were very purposeful in looking at evidence-based practices, and we wanted to make sure that they were implemented in reading and math with fidelity. And we knew that the interventions had to be systematic and explicit. And so we chose those type of strategies to share with our teachers. We offered professional learning for those teachers so that they would feel comfortable delivering those evidence, and I said evidence, not research-based, evidence-based practices to our students. Last but not least, innovation. So we are Paul Lawrence Dunbar Middle School for Innovation, and we came together as a team, and we really wanted to speak to innovative classes. Unfortunately, I don't think a lot of schools have implemented the 2018 computer science standards. And so what we did is we took those standards and we embedded them into core content of math, science, social studies, and reading. So our kids are not only getting the core content again, but they're also getting those plugged and unplugged computer science skills that we know that our students need for their 21st century careers. And we have had great success with that. Our teachers, a lot of our teachers have taken off with that, and it has been amazing to see the growth. We look forward to continuing to raise the bar at Dunbar, no excuses, because our students deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And certainly, last but not least, Holly Smith from Hutcherson.
Welcome.
Holly Smith, the very proud principal of Hutcherson, and we are the best kept secret in Lynchburg. So I want to ask you all to come visit us. I do want you to think about this every morning when there are about 220 2 to 5-year-olds in our school. They make the Hutcherson Hero Pledge. We are the Hutcherson Heroes. And you will hear them say, heroes are safe, heroes are kind, heroes listen to grow their minds. And we say, I'm a Hutcherson hero, and I help myself and others. And that's what our school is all about. We want to make sure kids know that they can do it, and they are special. And all of our teachers are Hutcherson heroes. We're very proud this year that Hutcherson was recognized as one of Virginia's quality schools for early childhood, and we scored one of the highest scores in Lynchburg, have to say that, in Lynchburg City, because that's what we do. And this year we are focused on school-wide communication. Young children need to learn to communicate. They need to learn to use language. They need to be able to ask for what they need. They need to tell you about their day. That is the foundation of reading. Until children learn language, they are going to struggle with reading. So this year we were very fortunate to get a partnership with the Virginia Commonwealth University for Hutcherson, our school, to have a partnership of training, coaching, and all the best practices of teaching children how to communicate. So our whole school is working together, the regular education classrooms and the special education classrooms, for school-wide communication. And then the other thing we're very proud of is that we are joined in with James Madison University, and we are working on our inclusive practices of children with and without disabilities working in classrooms and learning classrooms together. We're very fortunate. We have 2 pilot programs that are going very well, and I'm very proud and would love to show you all how great they're doing. The teachers are working really hard. And we want to make sure everybody knows that at Hutcherson everybody's included. Every single day is a new day. Sometimes it can be a rough day, but the next day is a new day. One of the things Lynchburg City Schools should be very proud of, and last week we had Dr. Dawn Hendricks from the Virginia Department of Education visit Hutcherson. We have established a new assessment called the Transdisciplinary Play-Based Assessment for our program for special education, and we were the first in the state of Virginia. She is the coordinator of early childhood special ed for the state of Virginia, and she came to observe and was very impressed with our initiative. And other school divisions are coming to see it. The biggest advantage of it is that we are including parents. They're right there assessing children, and we're doing it as a team. We've gotten great feedback of how positive it's been. The other thing Lynchburg City Schools should be very proud of is that we've added 3 3-year-old pre-kindergarten classrooms. And you say, oh, 3, that's not so many, but when you meet 3-year-old pre-kindergarten classes, that's a lot. So it's one of the hardest working classrooms in the city. It's been a huge benefit because the children that go from the 3-year-old classroom that may have been really learning about how to be a part of a group now go to the 4-year-old classroom, they're doing better, and then by the time they go to kindergarten, they're doing well. We have a very high waiting list for that. So I do have to tell you that there are parents that will call me up to find out when the applications come out, and they will stay up until 12:01 on February 1st to be the first to put in their application. And that's not exaggeration. They will do it. The one area that we still are trying to work on, and I'm sure everybody can appreciate it, is the area of behavior. We are very fortunate to have Horizon Therapeutic Services in our school and Harvest Support Services. And we have some wonderful teachers that have been trained in trauma-informed practices. And we still struggle some days with behaviors, but we're working, and we are excited to maybe gain some more systematic approaches and more resources to help children, because we know if we work on these skills when they are 2, 3, 4, and 5 years old, we've really enhanced their brain development and made their trajectory a lot better. So I ask you to come visit the Best Kept Secret in Lynchburg, and I thank you for letting me be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you have questions, please make sure you get those to me, and I will work with the principals to get answers to those for you.
Let's give a round of applause to all our principals. Next one is special education presentation, Dr. Copeland.
Dr. Daniels Bosher, and the rest of your SEAC folks if they're here.
Good evening, Dr. Gupta, Dr. Copeland, and members of the board. I am Janine Daniels Bosher. I am the Director of Special Education. The Special Education Advisory Committee, or SEAC as we refer to it, is a legislatively mandated committee, and Adriel Roberts is our chair. I do want to recognize that there are members of the SEAC committee here tonight, as well as some of my supervisors, to support Adriel as she talks about what the team has been talking about.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you, board. Good evening. My name is Adrielle Roberts, and I am the current chair for the Special Education Advisory Committee, or SEAC, for Lynchburg City. I'm here today to present recommendations that our committee believes would benefit special education in our Lynchburg City schools. These recommendations have been created over the past few months by SEAC collaborating with special education teachers and supervisors, along with addressing cares and concerns brought to the committee by parents and guardians of students with disabilities currently in Lynchburg City schools. Our recommendations are as follows. Number 1, to finalize plans of building closures and zone changes to ensure that impact on students with disabilities is considered and timely notice is given during this process. These decisions will directly impact several programs and assignments for the special education department, and ample time needs to be allowed to implement new building assignments and equipment transfers to coordinate with the final decisions that are made. The impact of this change will be difficult for students with disabilities, and preparation is needed to successfully transition students, staff, and families. SEAC asks that a decision be finalized by the end of the current 24-25 school year. Number 2, to continue the implementation of the Virginia IEP system to assist SPED staff to coordinate data and to better develop IEP goals, as well as facilitate meetings with parents and guardians. Number 3, to continue to conduct collaborative IEP development training for local support service providers such as Department of Social Services and like providers, to focus on IEP critical decisions and clarifications of the regulations governing special education programs in Virginia. Continue the training that was held this past spring for current staff. We also ask that LCS consider providing better training resource opportunities to parents and guardians of LCS students to better help with collaboration during IEP meetings. Number 4, continue to fund for the science of reading by using strategies like Orton-Gillingham Multisensory for all LCS students, teachers, and schools. Lack of knowledge about such strategies from current staff has demonstrated this need and the inability to implement this program citywide in all schools due to lack of funding that has made the strategies inaccessible to some students who would truly benefit from this program. Number 5, increase the number of LCS special education instructional assistants who have completed the 40-hour online training specific to registered behavior technicians to a minimum of 10 for current staff. We feel that this especially is important for the instructional assistants assigned to the city's autism-specific classrooms. Number 6, continue to review and train all staff on IEP requirements for assistive technology to ensure proper use of state-of-the-art updated assistive technology devices. Number 7, continue the LCS Disability Awareness Month activities as planned annually to include visible and non-visible disability awareness. Help to establish connections with providers in the area to better broadcast special needs accommodations and events for families of LCS students. Lastly, number 8, reevaluate and increase wages of SPED department staff to be competitive with surrounding counties and increase retention in the department. Several surrounding counties offer more competitive wages and incentives for special education staff. Turnover for the special education department of LCS continues to grow because of higher wages and bonuses that educators can receive in surrounding areas to our city. A neighboring county to us, for example, offers a $5,000 sign-on bonus for special education teachers. LCS currently offers no sign-on bonus or incentives for special education educators. For us to embody a tradition of excellence for all, there must be stability and, most importantly, inclusivity. Current staffing needs have created holes and gaps with services provided and IEPs being followed for students with disabilities. Please consider this when moving forward with budget discussions in the coming months. Thank you for your time.
Next is student representative, Dr. Copeland.
Good evening. This is the first time we've had our students for this year, so paper, rock, scissors for who gets to go first?
Go first? Okay. I'm fine to go first. So, hello everyone. Again, I'm Lucy. I'm the student representative from Glass, and I hope your November hasn't been too cold just yet, because unfortunately that means fall sports are wrapping up. And I wanted to highlight some of the almost final records for this year. Varsity football is 5-5, and they're actually still playing. They have their first playoff game at GW Danville this Friday, which is 100% worth the drive because it's supposed to be a really great matchup. So among two really good teams. So JV football is 8-2. Volleyball, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, is 21-4, which is really impressive. So congratulations to the Lady Hilltoppers. JV volleyball is 5-12, and field hockey ended the season being 1-11, but we had a lot of fun this year. Congratulations to the Midtown boys for managing to keep the jug at home this year. It was a really hard-fought game on both sides, and I think it just really shows the amount of hard work and talent that we have within our two high schools. The score was 17 to 13, so super close game, and we're really proud of them for pulling it off. So a few days before the Jug Bowl, student council members set up jars in the cafeteria in order to raise money for the Parkview mission. Students could put their cash in the jar of whatever administrator they would want to see dress up as a turkey suit, or in a turkey suit at the Jug Bowl. We definitely didn't raise as much as Heritage, but every penny does count, and I'm really proud of the Glass students who donated. And we got to see Dr. Roll in a turkey costume, so it was not a bad night at all. I'm thrilled to be able to say that the EC Glass volleyball team is statesbound after an amazing season. Last night, they beat Jefferson Forest in the 4D state semifinals and brought home a victory. They'll be traveling to Jameswood High School for a 6 p.m. game. And I know that I'm going to be making an effort to go because the EC Glass student section is just so much fun, especially at volleyball games. Speaking of bringing home victories, on the weekend of October 26th, our Acting 2 class and our Tech 2 class went to Virginia Theater Association competition in Richmond to perform their certain version of Our Place, which is a comedy drama kind of telling a story of a group of unlikely friends on a lakeside dock, and they won an honorable mention award. Awards for specific students went out as well, and we had a few. Will Hoffman receiving acting honors, Nayari Walker, Sophia Haupt, and EJ Matthews all received All-Star Cast. Ava Medina Coleman received second place in scenic design, and Percy Phillips received an honorable mention in costume design. Oh, and Glass received a judge's special award for stage combat, so congratulations. On Halloween night, EC Glass Cheerleading put on a trunk or treat for different sports teams so they could come and volunteer. There was candy, games, and a competition for whoever had the best trunk. It was a lot of fun seeing all the costumes, decorations, and it definitely helped make Halloween even more fun. And as you know, Veterans Day was on Monday, and our boys basketball team did some volunteering as well. They served and passed out stickers to veterans at Golden Corral who were being served free food. They helped the staff clean, seat people, and even showed off their cooking and baking skills, if you can see that picture there. Our yearbook staff from the 2023-2024 school year have gotten results back from the Virginia High School League's publication evaluation, and they received the highest honors available. We received superior ratings and were ranked in the trophy class, so great job to last year's staff. I'm on the staff this year, so we're celebrating in class. But that's all I have for you guys this month, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice.
So it's my turn. I hope everybody's having a great November and had a great October. So I want to start with talking about the pioneers outside the classroom. So this year, during Unity Day in October, some of our Heritage High School cheerleading and varsity football team went to Paramount to get the students excited about their school day. It was an amazing opportunity to be able to brighten the students' mornings, and it personally brightened my day when I went and saw the little kids' faces. So we also want to thank Mrs. Foster for allowing us to be involved at Parent Month. Also, our HHS harmonizers got the opportunity to sing at St. Stephen's Church at their 10:30 service on Sunday, October the 27th. We are so proud of you for sharing your amazing talents with the community. So, during V-Call, our students got the opportunity to work with Beacon of Hope and counselors on college applications and essay writing, and also were able to get the chance to meet with certain schools for their on-site admissions day and also learn about their admissions decisions. We want to thank Beacon of Hope and all of our counselors for their hard work, and we want to congratulate all the students who worked really hard and the students who got accepted into their schools. So our HHS students participated in Red Ribbon Week. During that week, students were able to learn about the effects of drug abuse that has on your body, and many students also committed to living a healthy, drug-free lifestyle. Seniors were also able to hear from the Legacy Education Center about workforce readiness. It was a great opportunity for seniors to hear about their futures and the many different paths that they can take. So next up, we have our Pioneers Making Minutes Matter. So our attendance award winners are DeQuavy Cruz and Zariah Franklin. So congratulations to those students for being at school. So also we have our Pioneers and Hilltoppers learning the helping hand. Like Lucy said, we did a food drive at Heritage, and both Heritage and Glass got the opportunity to spend a week raising money for local food banks around the area. The Pioneers were able to raise and donate $7,108.64 to the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank. We are so proud of our staff members and students for donating so much money towards a great cause.
Very good.
So next up is fall sports. So a lot of our sports wrapped up their seasons currently. So volleyball varsity had a record of 5-15 and JV 2-18. Our cross-country team had 5 males and 5 females make it to regionals. Golf had Jacob Kuhn made it to regionals, and competition cheers made it to regionals and hit 0. Football ended their JV season with 7-3 record, and varsity is going off into the playoffs with an 8-2 record. And Friday night, we're playing against Frostburg at home, so make sure to come out. And we also want to congratulate Gianna Early and Micaiah Ravel for their All Districts volleyball recognitions. Congratulations to the both of them, and congratulations to all of our teams. So we also want to talk about our theater, who won first place for districts during the Halloween weekend. And congratulations to Luke Snyder for his acting award. So regionals are this Saturday at Monticello High School, so congratulations to them and also good luck. Our big marching machine placed 5th out of 12 bands in their Class A competition. So we want to congratulate them for their amazing season, and good luck to all of the seniors and good luck to their future endeavors as well. So here are the Pioneer Senior Scholarships. So there was a Building Bridges Productions scholarship that was for the performing arts, and 3 out of the 4 recipients were LCS students, and 2 out of the 4 were Heritage students. So Emily Salazar won 3rd place, and I won 1st place. So congratulations to all of you. So we have some new programs, but they're not really new. They're just starting back up this year. So engineering has partnerships with Vector Space, Framatone, and BWXT, where students are able to learn about more engineering and working on special projects. The academic support program was during 9th grade year, but it stopped, and now it's starting again this year. So after school, teachers and counselors came into the media center, and they tutored students and helped them with areas they were struggling in. and it was a great opportunity for students to learn and get help in areas they were struggling with. So I'm excited that it's coming back. So we also want to give a big shout out to Miss Cordell for going above and beyond in everything that she does for students and just making the school a better place. So thank you and have a great day in #1 Big Orange Country, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you to both of you. Next one is public comments. Dr. Tinsley.
Yes, I want to read the public comment statement here before we get into those comments. Persons appearing before the school board will not be allowed to campaign for public office or promote private business ventures. You should not use profanity or vulgar language or gestures, make comments about a public official or an employee that are not related to the public official or employee's official duties. Engage in behavior that disrupts the meeting or intimidates others, or address the school board on issues that do not concern the services, policies, role, and/or responsibilities of the school board. Individual speakers shall limit their comments to 3 minutes. A speaker representing a group shall limit their comments to 5 minutes. The representative shall identify the group at the beginning of their presentation. A group may have no more than one spokesperson. Total allotted time for public comments, school board meetings, is 30 minutes. Voicemail messages to be played are also limited to 3 minutes for individuals and 5 minutes for speakers representing a group. Priority will be given to in-person comments before voicemail messages in the following order: students, staff, parents, guardians, and then community members. Public comments are reserved for the public to provide input. The board does not respond to comments, answer questions, or otherwise engage in discussion at this time. So the first person on our list is Nettie Webb. Not here? All right. Next, Aaron Reed.
Good evening, board. My name is Aaron Reed. I'm a 27-year veteran of Lynchburg City Schools. I teach at E.C. Glass High School. I am the chair of the English department. I am the co-coach of the award-winning public speaking forensics team. I teach AP Language and Composition. I teach AP Research. I was the first teacher in the state of Virginia to teach AP African American Studies, and we continue it to this year. In 2023, the VHSL named me the Speech Teacher of the Year, and tonight I come to you with a warning. I need you to understand that the conversations that I have had with the staff at my school, as well as at other schools, tell a story of teachers feeling like they are losing autonomy in their classrooms. And this is a throughput from every grade level that I have had a conversation with. A few examples. We have heard some fantastic stories tonight from our elementary schools of children succeeding, and all of that is true. But one of the things that you have to understand that's coming down from both the state as well as here within our division is that some of those literacy programs literally put books in front of our teachers and make them read the blue words to children. There is no autonomy. There is no choice in terms of what they say. At the secondary level, in middle school and in high school, the secondary book list that we used to have is abolished. And in favor of that, instead of that, is a pacing guide that prescribes the books that teachers will use for each quarter. There's a larger picture here of teachers in your system losing autonomy. Now tonight, what I'd like to talk about is kind of the most recent component of this, which again is the conversations that I've had with people in my building as well as teachers beyond that. The concern has come down about the Superintendent Search Committee, which as far as I understand it, includes a total of 0 staff from schools. My understanding is that it means there's no teachers on that committee, that there's no instructional aides on that committee, that there's no support staff on that committee. And I completely understand. I have listened when Dr. Tinsley has reassured that LCS employees will have their voices heard, that there will be listening sessions, and that there will be surveys. I understand that these things will happen. But you've got to understand that the problem with surveys in the 21st century is that for those of us who are staff, it continually feels like someone is checking a box to be able to say, I gave a survey. but that it does not translate into anything that's meaningful. The alternative to asking us to complete a survey, which we don't have faith will ever translate to the committee that's making the decision, the alternative to that is getting some people from these buildings on that search committee. And I understand that that committee has already started, and it's probably in a variety of places in terms of communicating with the organization that is finding our candidates and all of that. But here's the good news. It's not too late. Part of what this board, I hope, wants to do is rehabilitate its image as a board that is listening not only to parents who are important stakeholders, but to faculty who, again, feel like their autonomy is spiraling out of control. We need to know that we matter in some way. So including teachers, support aide, instructional staff, someone who is in the classroom and who can be at the table. And the survey and the listening session is just not enough, man. It's just not enough. We need to know that when candidates come before decision makers, that we're part of that process. Literally, we're in that room. And if our voices matter, I think you want us in that room. I would hope you do. Because here's the alternative. If you don't want us in the room, then the message is, we don't matter as much as you said that we do. You don't think as much of us as you want us to believe. And for my teachers who are reading blue words out of books, and for my teachers who are being told what books to teach, that loss of autonomy suddenly feels complete. Because the end of that road is, you don't even get a say in the people that lead the division. I want to believe that you don't believe that. But until you have action that shows us that, that's all that we have left. I am happy if you want to reach out and contact me further about this. If you need to, you know where I am.
Next up is Carl Luce.
No applause. You know, he read the policy, so please, go ahead.
All right. Well, good evening to all of you, and as always, thank you for your commitment to the students and staff of Lynchburg City Schools. My name is Carl Luce. I'm president of Lynchburg Education Association, and I'm here to right a wrong. I stand before you tonight with a petition that has more than 275 signatures from every site in the district, and our request is simple. Add one teacher and one educational support personnel to the superintendent search committee. Last month, one of the board members commented on wanting to keep the committee small and manageable. Our committee has 7 members. City council has 7 members, he said. The school board has 9 members. Exactly. The school board has 9 members. Our request, if granted, would make the committee also 9 members, a manageable number by your own admission. The same school board member then went on to assure us that our input would be part of the process. Ladies and gentlemen, there are miles and miles of empty meadows between having input and having the chance to advise this board on its decision. You've left us on the outside looking in, peering through a cold, frosted window as we struggle to survive, staring in at a bountiful table that includes business leaders and parents, but not a single one of us. We all fully understand that this board will make the ultimate decision on who our next superintendent will be. But we also understand the challenges we are facing that are unique to our school division. We understand the issues that the students in front of us face on a daily basis. We understand what implementing the policies and procedures of this board and this division actually looks like in our schools and on our buses. We understand what we have done in the past, what worked, and what didn't. We understand that we are the experts on the best way to educate the students of Lynchburg. What we don't understand is why you don't see that. What we don't understand is why you wouldn't want the voices of the paid professional educators, experts in their fields, to be a part of your decision-making process as you prepare to make one of the biggest decisions this board can make. We teach our students at every level that actions speak louder than words. We watch these meetings month after month, and we hear a lot of nice things said about our teachers and staff, and we appreciate that. We really do. But actions speak louder than words. This board voted to increase healthcare costs for its staff by an average of what, 14%? That action spoke volumes. Because of this board's rush to move on from Dr. Edwards, we're now paying 2 superintendents this year. That action spoke volumes too. And now to come in here and dictate to us who is best to lead us, that action is unconscionable. For a school division to be successful, its employees must trust its leadership. Employees must know that they have the respect and admiration of those that lead through actions, not through their words. A successful school system has employees buy into the vision of its leadership. And there's no better way to have employees buy into a school division than to make sure that they have a real voice in the process to choose their leader. So lead by example. Show the students of Lynchburg City Schools that actions are more important than words. Show them that when a tough decision needs to be made, you make sure the experts have a seat at the table and help you make it. Take action today by appointing 1 teacher and 1 educational support personnel to your superintendent search committee. Thank you.
Next up is Gary Taylor.
Good evening, Dr. Gupta. Welcome back, Dr. Copeland, all school board members. I just wanted to spend a few minutes to talk now that the election's over. I think all of us are glad it's over. So in recap, I am Gary Taylor, the founder of Citizens for a Better Lynchburg, a bipartisan organization looking to unify the city of Lynchburg. We had 7 goals last year. We wanted 7 groups, individuals, or people replaced or removed from office. And I'm happy to report that Bob Good and Jeff Helgeson are no longer in their positions. So that is a starting point to reimagine a more united Lynchburg. And we look forward to what's going to happen next year. But I think it's also important for you all. We spent the last decade, many of us, laying the groundwork for a successful Lynchburg City school system, and how we have managed to run that thing into the ditch in the last 2 years with a dysfunctional city council and all the other things going on in this city is very disheartening, to say the least. So what's going to happen in 2025 is Bob Good and Jeff Helgeson are going to try to take out Wendell Walker, most likely, because he's aligned with the Youngkin administration. And myself and other individuals are going to look to take out Senator Mark Peake because he has kowtowed to the disgraced Lynchburg Republican folks. So that's what's shaping up for 2025 at the state level. Also, there'll be a governor's race. Most likely, Abigail Spanberger, a Democrat, centrist, is going to be the next governor of Virginia, but we'll have to see. But she's the 2nd most popular politician in the state of Virginia. So from our perspective, now that the election's over, we need to get everybody back on the bus and driving this thing in the right direction before some of us that have been involved for a decade now need to go to the Youngkin administration and the state level to see if they're going to have to interject in Lynchburg City Schools. So the process is going to be is we're going to start sending out FOIA requests starting immediately, like people give out candy corn on Thanksgiving. The lack of transparency has been a real issue. And we have to get all together on the same page on what needs to be done. Now, there are two very succinct silos. So I'm a corporate guy, a business guy, silos and fiefdoms. I was labeled as a silo buster in the corporate world because silos are no good. You have to have horizontal and vertical collaboration. So to do that, you have to designate your silos. Your first silo is school closures. That's an individual lane. You have now, because no action was taken in 2024, you now are required to close 4 schools. It was 3.5 for the last 5 years. Everybody knows it. No Republican, no Democrat, no school administrator. There's not one person in the city of Lynchburg over the last 8 years that has not agreed schools need to close. How we got to where we got to, it's a shame, but we're where we are now. So that is one silo. So you work in that lane, and then the other silo is which schools to close. They're not mutually tied together. They're mutually exclusive. But you have to get back on the track of working on, we got to get something done, okay? So all I would ask is I will resend the information that I've given to everybody last month, okay, regarding MGT and the disastrous worst in the history of the city of Lynchburg consulting job, period. Thank you. Have a good night.
Madam Clerk, are there voicemails?
There's one voicemail.
Hello, this is Maggie Malcolm, addressing the Lynchburg City Schools Board meeting. And I would like to request that students who are homeschooled would be eligible to participate in extracurricular activities and sports at the school in their district. At least having access to those things would make it fair for students who live in that district. I'm just speaking for myself, but through my experience, I am voicing a concern that several parents in the city of Lynchburg, something that a lot of homeschooled parents are requesting. If you are willing to contact me, I can share my email address and phone number with Tina Day, and she can follow up with an email to you all. Thank you for considering, and have a great day.
Mr. Chair, that concludes public comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Tinsley. Next one is consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Dr. Tinsley, is there a second? Mr. Andrews, any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Gilio,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Dr. Day,
I think he's having connection.
Yes.
Dr. Gupta,
Yes.
Mrs. Preston, Mr. DePaul,
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie,
Yes.
Dr. Tinsley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next one is finance report. Dr. Copeland.
Ms. James?
Good evening, Chairman Gupta, members of the board, and Dr. Copeland, and welcome. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. I'll be brief in my remarks. No, really, I promise. You have before you the September 30th, 2024 month-end financials. As of September, which marks 25% of the fiscal year already passed, the percent of revenues collected versus original appropriation sits at 16.71% year-to-date. The amount of expenditures versus original appropriation is at 16.52% year-to-date. It's always good when you're underspending your revenue receipts, however small. The total expenditures inclusive of encumbrances equates to 72.55%. So there are a few notable variances in expenditures this month, and that is budget percent used, generally 40% or more of the budget at this point in the fiscal year. If you will refer on the expenditure sheet for line 85, function 8100, the technology classroom and instruction line other has used 64.26% of the budget. That's due to expenses related to IXL learning software and classroom hardware. As you know, those are one-time expenses, and that expenditure will catch up with itself towards the end of the fiscal year. Line 90, which is function 8300, technology administration other, has used 104.71% of the budget due to expenses and encumbrances related to new school year technology needs. Those include vendors related to CDW government, secured tech solutions, and frontline technologies. If you will scroll down just a bit on line 92, function 8500, technology pupil transportation other. They have used 100% of the budget due to expenses related to Where's the Bus software used for bus operations. And line 94, function 8600, technology operations and maintenance other, has used 100% of the budget due to expenses related to Operations Hero and Raptor technologies. Again, those percentages will catch up further on throughout the fiscal year. Statement of revenues, there are no items to address at this point. The monthly report, not to appear to be a rerun, but the health insurance summary for FY 2025 will not be finalized for reporting until after the 2024 audit is complete. We are finalizing that hopefully this week. We are answering some final auditor questions. They have moved over into the city. They're finalizing the city's audit, and therefore an occasional question pops up for us. So we are answering those questions as quickly and succinctly as we can on behalf of the city. So other informational items, the FY26 budget development process for schools and departments is underway. I've met with 15 schools and 1 department so far regarding their requests, and I'm scheduling remaining schools and departments this week. The FY26 through 2030, believe it or not, CIP budget submission, which was approved by the school board on September the 17th meeting, has been submitted to the city prior to the requested deadline. Go us.
I was first.
The FY 2025 open enrollment process has come to a conclusion, inclusive of the new premium increase, which was approved by the school board on October the 15th. The changes will be applied as of January 1st, 2025. I will entertain any questions that you have at this time. Otherwise, that concludes my report for the evening.
Questions for Ms. James? I have a couple. You got about still a deficit from carrying over from last year for health insurance? So
as far as the deficit is concerned, we are trying to align that with the new premium increases. So that obviously we won't know the final numbers until the audit is completed, hopefully this week, and I'll be able to report out on that as of our next financial report. But we're hoping and strategically planning for a lower deficit if there is one.
So my assumption is with the new rates, your deficit will go down to 0. supposedly. So,
In a perfect world, I'm not going to make any promises at this point, but we will actually know those figures as of the next report because the audit will be complete, and that deficit is included in the whole auditing process.
so Mr. DePaul will have $1 million excess next year from the contingency reserve. That's where
We're strategizing to help provide that.
And you'll be sharing audits with the board, right? Once it's
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? See if I can find my agenda. Next one is ad hoc superintendent search committee, Dr. Tinsley.
The only update is that this Thursday, November 14th, 3:30 p.m. here, we will be doing interviews of the search firms that have been selected for interview. So hope all the board members can be here. I will be calling in virtually. But the committee as well, ad hoc committee will be here as well.
And we discussed with the school board attorney in terms of closed session or open session. Since the contractual issues involved, the recommendation was to do it in a closed session.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Tinsley. Next one is comprehensive strategic plan. Dr. Day, you're there. We're missing you here.
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know if you can see me. Can you hear me?
We can see you.
Okay.
We're not upset.
So
You're in
comprehensive strategic plan. We are required by a section of state law to adopt a division-wide comprehensive unified long-range plan. And the law imposes various requirements for review and update of that plan. It might be worthwhile if school board members actually read the code, state code on this. Our most recently developed comprehensive plan was for the years 2019 through 2024. And you can find that on the LCS webpage. We were due to update it last year, but due to the inordinate amount of time our budget and facilities planning took, we voted on June 4th to extend the plan for an additional year to cover the current school board year. Now, at least I've talked to the chair and our interim superintendent about this. We feel that we should not put in place a new comprehensive plan without the input of the superintendent who will carry it out. And of course, we won't know who that is until the superintendent search is done. So I want to move that we extend the 2019 through 2024 plan for a second year so that it covers the 2025-26 school year. So that's a formal.
You making a motion?
You're making a motion, Dr. Day?
Yes.
A second.
Mr. Andrews, second.
Yes.
So your reasoning is so that the new superintendent will be able to help in developing and then carry it forward.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Other discussion, the motion?
It seems to me that that can be something going both ways. You can have a development of a comprehensive plan set and then it be edited or given a brainstorming session before or after a new superintendent is seated. You can also do what you're asking basically is wait until a superintendent is seated to start the process of developing the plan. That doesn't seem to be a good use of time if we have the time to do it beforehand and get it ready. Then the superintendent can add his 2 cents or her 2 cents and make the changes or additional recommendations to the plan, thereby saving time and maybe coming up with something that we hadn't thought about beforehand.
I'd agree with that.
Dr. Tinsley?
I think it's an opportunity for the new superintendent to build teamwork, to do visioning, mission and goal setting. I think if we do that work and say, here's your plan, it undermines the new superintendent and can as it were, cut his or her legs out from under him. I think we should extend the plan. I agree with Dr. Day. Extend the plan for one more year. It's not kicking the can down the road. It's just giving the new superintendent the ability to be a leader when he or she steps into this position and to guide that process and be influential in the development of that plan.
I don't know if I can say I thought the same thing as well, but someone brought up to me the point that the decision and the development of the plan is the board's plan for the district, not the administrative's plan for the district. So the administrative side of things executes the plan that we develop. It's our responsibility. It's our vocation, part of our vocation to do that. So that's the distinction that I've come to understand about a comprehensive plan.
Any strategic plan is a team effort where you have board, the administrator, staff. It's a pretty, Dr. Copeland was involved when we had the last strategic plan development. It was a room full of people, different stakeholders, that's the word. So it's all the stakeholders are involved in that process. Were you going to say something, or Mrs. Lowry has? Go ahead.
No, that's what my question was. I think you just answered it, so just to clarify. Because I was thinking, well, wouldn't we get together with the superintendent if it's our comprehensive plan and they are working, they're our employee, we should all be sitting together working on it together. So that is what happens. Okay.
It was a, you want to go back to the memory lane and
It's all started with myself, Dr. Edwards, and Ms. Morrison going to Charlottesville for a training session. I forget the name of the group, but on strategic plan development. And then we came back to the division and started the development of the plan involving the board with the major milestones or the major goals as they were developed. And it is all stakeholders input process. So if you think about what's in our current strategic plan and where the division needs to go, I'm kind of with Dr. Tinsley that the new person needs to have their stamp of origination and development in that. If I was to show up and you had a strategic plan, I would feel a little bit taken aback that something's already road mapped out for me, and it would be something that I would look at very closely in the application process to see if I think that I can meet those goals and objectives. So
That's what I was thinking as well. It's to even be a part of this particular division, you would have to look at that and say, I'm on board with that type of plan, if it existed, before you jumped on board.
There are pros and cons to each approach, to any approach.
Good. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Carter?
I'll make sure, are we saying that we're gonna hold off? I'm yes to holding off until 2020.
That's our,
Yes.
Mr. Jalil?
No.
Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Dr. Day?
Yes.
Dr. Gupta?
Yes.
Mrs. Preston? Yes. Mr. DePaul?
No.
Mrs. Laurie?
Yes.
Dr. Tinsley?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Dr. Day. Next one is new business, graduation location, Dr. Copeland.
Dr. Wodick would like to have some discussions about where we want to hold graduation. So.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Copeland, and good evening, members of the board. Both EC Glass and Heritage High Schools have requested to make a change in our location of graduation. As you're aware, for the last several years, really since COVID, graduation has been held at City Stadium. As a result of the need to have plenty of room. There's been lots of positivity with that. We've had a lot of have had folks bring as many people as they want. It's been many beautiful days of graduation, but there's also been some pretty significant challenges as well in terms of coordination of time with the minor league baseball team and the parking. There's always a game right after graduation, so we're always trying to get out as fast as we can, and everyone else as well. We also always have the concern about weather. In the last couple of years, there's been a day of maybe a little spitting rain, kind of threatening. It's always worked out, but it's always been that threat. As well as just simply the cost of doing it at City Stadium. So renting the sound equipment, the cost of staff and time, and other folks that we need to hire for some of the video work and that sort of thing. Ultimately, it ends up costing about $25,000 to do graduation at City Stadium. So the schools reached out and requested, could we move graduation to the Vine Center at Liberty University? And the contract for that would be a little less than $10,000, so it'd save about $15,000. You wouldn't have to have the concern about weather. You wouldn't have the concern about staff time as nearly as much. The Liberty University staff would do all of the work that, to run the event. Of course, our faculty advisors would have to bring the decorations and those sorts of things, but it would be there. But I will say this was a topic that was brought up in the city a number of years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago, and there were some folks that were very in favor of it and some folks that very much were not. And I think that as what we've experienced, we just want to bring this to you as an alternative. I certainly think it's a reasonable alternative that has the support of the principals of both high schools. We didn't do a survey this year, but we did do it the last 2 years. And there was kind of some mixed feelings on whether or not to make that change for a variety of reasons. In the past, before City Stadium, of course, we were able to hold graduations in the Civic Auditorium at EC Glass and the gymnasium at Heritage High School. That worked very well for many years. But there is the concern about not being able to bring as many people as you want to graduation. For the very important milestone that is graduation, a lot of families have come to like that very much, have that be a huge part of their family and their friends. And so would appreciate some direction from you. I would appreciate a vote this evening of one way or the other. And again, the request is to move the graduation to the Vine Center. The reason I would ask for a vote tonight is because we just have to get the agreement signed going forward. And this was, I talked to Dr. Gupta about a month ago, and he said this was probably the best way to have a discussion with the board to make sure that we were doing this in a public way, and it was a clear conversation. So
I make the motion.
Mr. DePaul, Mr. Connor, second. Any discussion on the motion?
I just have one question. You said it cost $25,000. Is that $25,000 per school, or is that a total of $25,000?
Total at the City Stadium is $25,000, and the total at Liberty would be $10,000.
Just
And
go ahead,
also-
Mr. Connor.
I'd like to say that we should, as a city, take advantage. Not every city has a major university, and Liberty is growing to be a world-class major university right here in our city. And we should begin to take advantage of the facilities that they provide at that level. So I would totally agree that would be a better place to have graduations.
And the other part was the parking. They just finished the new building parking lot thing at the very end as you enter, so there'd be plenty of parking.
Dr. Tinsley.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of space there. I don't think we're going to have a space issue. Parking's not going to be an issue. Weather's not going to be an issue. And Liberty's a great partner, community partner. I mean, and I think, going along with Mr. Connor, I think we need to take advantage of this. And there's a significant cost differential in our favor. So.
Save money.
President Costin always says, I'm here to help. My athletes are here to mentor your students. So he has extended helping hand every time I've met him. Just going back to it's a day on memory lane. You remember last time this proposal came in front of the board, was it 5 years ago? There was some pushback from the community. I don't know, one of you would like to share. It's not to sway one way or the other, it's just to make sure you got a historical context. Were you here, Dr. Copeland, that time?
I was here. I don't remember what the major points against it were, other than at that point in time, everybody was real happy to celebrate on campuses. Then the pandemic happened and indoor graduations became a thing of the past out of necessity. But then everybody realized City Stadium worked. If you go back to having it at the EC Glass, or the Civic Auditorium that's located at EC Glass, or in the field house at Heritage High School, there was always the ticket control and what I'd call the bartering of tickets. If you didn't need your 6, who could you give a couple to help somebody out? So it always created a little bit of stress to have them on the campus environments. Dr. Wodeker, do you know how many surrounding high schools use the Vine Center right now?
So I think it's everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It has been kind of a consensus move from a setup standpoint. I believe Liberty will do it all for us. Like Dr. Wodeker said, we show up, decorate it, organize our crew, and then leave it, and they'll clean it up afterwards. So there is a certain efficiency with it. I look forward to how you guys decide we want to move forward.
Dr. Day, do you have any comments or questions?
Oh, I'm in favor of it.
Should we ready to call a vote? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Mr. Jalil?
Yes.
Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Dr. Day?
Yes.
Dr. Gupta?
Yes.
Mrs. Preston?
Yes.
Mr. DePaul?
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie?
Yes.
Dr. Tinsley?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next one is policy JFCZ, cell phones. Dr. Day?
Yes. Okay. So let me give you a little bit of history here. You may recall that on July 9th, the school board approved some revisions to our policy on personal electronic communication devices. And on the same day, the governor issued his Executive Order 33 instructing VDOE to develop guidelines for what the state called cell phone free education. And it was clear at that point that there was one major aspect in which our recently adjusted policy was different than the VDOE's policy, and that was that we were allowing high school students to use their cell phones during their lunch periods. But the state guidelines did not recommend that. They recommended what they called bell-to-bell non-use of cell phones. And so we did make a modification to the policy regarding the use of privately owned headphones for instructional purposes. But as our policy stands at the moment, we are still allowing high school students, not elementary or middle school, only high school students, we're currently allowing them to use their cell phones at lunchtime. But to bring our policy into compliance with the state guidelines, we need to change that. Now, both I and Attorney Hope Towns have read through the state's final guidance on this and have found a couple other aspects of our policy that probably need to be updated to bring it into compliance with the state guidelines. So there's a couple two documents linked to the agenda. One of them is a file called JFCZ-5. A second one is a file called JFCZ-New Suggested Changes. Those are some additional changes that Hope Towns suggested. So I'm not quite sure what to do about this because Hope has suggested a couple things that are a little bit different than I had put in JFCZ 5. I'll go through, try to summarize for you what the changes are. I used in the version I wrote, I used the term regular school day, where the state's guidance uses the term bell to bell. So I had written our policy with using the term regular school day and included a definition of that. Hope suggests that we change it to bell because that's the way the state guidelines are worded. I had thought that after removing the allowance of cell phones at lunchtime for the high school students, that our policies at the elementary, middle, and high schools were identical. So I collapsed all three to a single policy statement applying to all three school levels. Hope suggests that we break those back up again because she thought that we should add a prohibition of cell phone use on school buses for the elementary school students. So that's another point of difference between what I suggested and what Hope suggested. Then Hope suggested a couple other things that I don't think are controversial at all. She added some language that allow, that say any additional restrictions that a principal makes do have to comply with state guidelines, and a specification that if a student goes, for instance, on a field trip, so they're located at a different school campus than the one that they're normally enrolled in, then they need to abide by the policies that are in effect at that school campus where they are visiting. So Hope added some language to that effect. I also suggested some cross-references to some of our other policies, student conduct policy, student conduct on school buses policy, and our crisis and emergency management plan ought to say something about cell phones. In particular, the crisis and emergency management plan ought to say something about recommendations for parents trying to call the schools in the case of an emergency. So unfortunately, because we've got two sets of recommendations here, I don't have a single version of a proposed revision to this ready for you. I think the best we can do at the moment is for board members to express their feelings about these various possible modifications that I've mentioned, and then we'll have to draw up a final version of this to come to the board for approval at its next meeting.
Let's give chance to Attorney Towns. Attorney Towns, would you be willing to speak?
Yes, and I just wanted to add, I think that Dr. Day did a succinct summation of the two policies that, if the board feels there needs to be some type of amalgamation of both, that we can do that. I think that one of the things I did want to make a point for the way that the recommendations I drafted is because, the guidelines, I think it's a 32-page document of guidelines. And so we address many of the major points in our policy. However, some of the things such as field trips, off-site visits, the issues with English as a second language students or students that have an IEP, that building principals have an opportunity to go back to the guidance and look at the recommendations of the guidance first. And hopefully that will clarify any points that there are concerns about before they have to go back to building administration or myself if they have any questions. So that's for particularly the changes down in section G, just to make it clear that to go back to the guidelines for cell phone free education would be the next line after this policy, and to make it clear to the state that our policy is in consideration of the guidelines put forth. But again, if you all have any input, I'm prepared to try to put some things together so you all have something to vote on at your next meeting.
Mrs. Lowry?
Well, it looks like from Martin, what you did, then what Pope put together looks like it's more specific. So I think if what she's put together and you two had talked about this, then it looks like that would be the one to go with. But when we put this in place, it will go in place January 1st, correct? So
If we approve a new policy, it becomes effective when we approve it. January 1st is the deadline for us to approve a policy that's in conformity to the state guidelines.
In a way, you're right. It takes time to start enforcing it, yeah.
Okay. And then my other question really is for Interim Copeland, because I visit schools and stuff, and so I still see students with them in the hallways and bathrooms, in stairwells, so I just don't know how we're going to make sure that it stays a cell phone-free environment.
We will work diligently with the principals to enforce the policy that gets approved by the board.
Yeah.
I think that having the policy the way it is now, we're seeing where the certain gaps are, where students are bypassing the rules, so we'll work with the principals.
And I feel like that's my fault because I was the one that suggested the lunch thing, thinking to give them a break just at that point, but it's not working, so.
Other questions?
So may I suggest that Hope and I work together to produce a finalized version of these modifications to bring back to the board?
Okay.
Dr. Day, let's see if anybody else has any comments or suggestions for you. Dr. Tinsley?
Yeah, I would just affirm the use of the state's terminology and verbiage. So, you know, I would agree with bell to bell, since that's the guidelines that we've been given from the governor's office.
I agree. I love Dr. Day. I have a lot of respect for you, but I go with my attorney.
You get what you pay for.
One thing that I'd like to see us do, because it is an issue, that once we do affirm a policy at this board meeting, we need to implement it expeditiously. Get it out to the schools that, hey, this is the state's mandate, this is now the city's mandate. You must follow these rules and regulations, these policies.
Dr. Tinsley?
And an absolute prohibition, a bell-to-bell policy like this is going to be a lot easier to implement because there's not a lot of nuance. You put it away in the beginning, you take it out when you go home. And so I think implementation should be quite a bit easier. Enforcement might be an issue.
But enforcement is going to depend on people being able to actually adhere to the policy. And I think in the vague terms that we were talking about before, oh, I forgot.
Right.
I didn't remember I was supposed to put it away and all that sort of thing. If it's crystal clear that nobody's supposed to have a cell phone except bell to bell, then we're gonna
Right.
you know, adjust and manage each other, so to speak, so that doesn't happen.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So do we want our policy for elementary school students to be different? Do we want to prohibit them from using their phones on the buses where we don't have that kind of prohibition for high school and middle school students?
What is
I'd prefer all of them to not be able to use it on the bus.
Yeah.
We can write the policy that way if that's what the board wants.
Through discipline cases, I can see where that would benefit safety.
Yeah, I could see that. I could also see a counter argument that maybe it keeps them occupied on the bus so that they're not
Well,
interacting
and
so
high
much.
school kids are going to have greater responsibility than elementary school kids. I may need to call somebody to let them know that I'm late or I'm early or I got to pick up my brother or sister or whatever. And that's going to be the responsibility perhaps of a high school student, but not of an elementary school student.
Right.
So, I mean, I can see that there would be a different set of rules, if you will.
Attorney
Interested.
Towns, what do you think?
Your opinion, because you dealt
Attorney
with
Towns, do you have any recommendation on this one? Attorney Towns?
As far as what I can say, this is the language from the state. They have, mandated that elementary school students not have a phone on the bus. And the board can always put more restrictive measures in place. So that is at your discretion.
That's what the state says, then no.
Hey, what do you, I'd like to hear your opinion. You dealt with the buses for
Well,
all those years.
There's really no reason for them to have it on the bus, elementary kids. High school, middle and high school, they're usually listening to music with their headphones or whatever, but there's really no reason for the elementary students to have. The ones that need something to occupy themselves, they usually have a tablet. I've seen many kids with little game tablets, something, not phones.
Yeah, not phone.
Wouldn't that be the same for high school? Just in case they wanted to create a situation to upload to the net later?
My thing is this, I think we need to align as close as possible to the state guidelines. So.
Fair enough.
I believe the state says, the state doesn't exclude it for high school students on the bus, or does?
Hope.
Attorney Towns?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my volume is a little low for whatever reason, so did someone say something?
Yeah, we were asking the guidelines for middle and high school on buses, the state guidelines, what did it say?
They made no recommendations as far as buses in the state guidelines, only for elementary school students.
So perhaps a great compromise would be to make all of the school bus seats like airplane seats, which has monitors in the back, and you can just play educational things all along the trip when they go to school and go back home.
That's expensive.
And you're gonna pay for that out of your pocket there?
That's a good compromise.
Yeah. It says here in green, though, devices may be, for middle school, and I guess for high school too, devices may be used after school and on the bus.
Yeah, so once they step off the school bus, that's when the bell starts.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Once they get on the school bus, the bell is over, they're on their way home. In elementary school, if we,
And just a reminder that both Dr. Day and I, in the original policy, states that, in additional procedures and restrictions, that a building principal can always do what they feel is appropriate for their school and make more restrictive rules, as long as it's communicated to the students and parents.
I'd like to avoid what I've seen recently on some social media where parents did not know where the bus was. And it was a bus that was being substitute driver, and it was an elementary bus. And if we say you can't have a cell phone, then we can't let mom know that I'm on bus 70, I'm on a different bus today, and there was some issues recently, and I thought they would come before the board tonight and bring them forward. But we really need to look at elementary kids. They're on the bus.
Well, but in the past years and stuff, usually if there's an issue, the parents call transportation.
Yes.
And then transportation gets on the walk-in, finds out where they are, and then they tell the parent, correct?
Have you actually tried to do that?
Well, I've been at school, after school, when they've been trying to get a hold of parents, so you just gotta wait. There's a waiting period as they do that.
So I'm just saying it's something we probably need to consider, that children need to be able, while they're on a school bus, they should be able to contact their parent, let mom know we're running late or whatever.
Well, then we should make it grade specific. A
But isn't
kindergartner when they need
transportation
it.
utilizing some kind of system wherein if a bus is gonna be late, they contact parents, using their cell phones or
send out an
messaging or
all-call
whatever?
thing or
So they're gonna get the message, elementary.
That is the plan. But
Okay.
apparently, when it doesn't work, that's when the tensions rise, because it didn't work the way it should have worked. It was such a last-minute situation.
That it
But you need to
wasn't
know ahead of
timely
time.
enough.
Well, if a driver doesn't show up, you don't know until they're not there. 15 minutes after their bus should have been at a location, oh, they didn't come to work today. So then you gotta scramble to get that information in the system. I'm just saying that, there could be a lot of reasons that doesn't always flow. Perfect world, yeah. Driver call in sick, boom, here's the substitute number, put it on the all-call. But on a no-call, no-show, or driver has an accident on the way to work, things happen, then there's no way to communicate, So if a child is on the bus, can say, Mom, the bus we had to go to a different elementary school, the driver says we're gonna be late. I don't know.
Dr. Tinsley and Mr. Jalil then.
Just going back to Attorney Townsend's point, though, I think the executive order, the governor's guidelines are that elementary school students won't have.
Then that's what we should follow.
Right, so.
I'm saying if we stick to the state guidelines, then we,
Right, and so, and then the other point I would make is, and this is going back to Ms. Preston's comment, I think bell to bell is such a clear policy. If we go beyond that with high schoolers and middle schoolers, I think it gets into gray areas and nuance, like what about sports programs, what about after school? And then we're just gonna open up a lot of uncertainty. I think bell to bell is very clear. We know when the cell phones are prohibited. Any other time except for elementary school students on school buses, you can have your cell phones.
If the state.
Mr. Jalil, huh?
Mr. Day,
I know it's being meant by bell to bell, but you just brought this thought up. Technically, the bus is after the bell, going home. So is that going to can that cause a technical issue with not a lawsuit, but a problem with an issue that comes up with parents, the law, the particular guideline, and the fact that it's not technically within the bell system?
Attorney Towns, what do you think?
Well, I think that's why it's carved out as a separate issue for elementary school students, that you talk about bell to bell regular day, and then you add there's an additional restriction on elementary school students that also the bus is a place they cannot use their phone. So the way it's written, I don't see that being an issue.
What we could do is, Dr. Day, you work with Attorney Towns. Go ahead, Dr. Day, you're a hand.
Well, I was going to also raise the issue of how do you enforce a cell phone restriction on a bus? You asking the drivers to do something if they see a cell phone in use?
We need to hire aides. 25 aides on the bus.
The seats are so big on the bus, you can't even see the elementary students.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
They're doing, yeah.
So
Picking on
I also am in favor of just sticking with what the state guidelines say and not adding any additional enhancement at this point. We've got a big enough job just to enforce the main part of this bell-to-bell prohibition in the schools themselves. If we can make progress on that battle, I'll call it a success, regardless of what's happening on the buses.
So would you be willing to work with Attorney Towns and bring a version to the summer meeting?
Certainly.
Any board members has suggestions, they can email it to Dr. Day, and we'll bring it as an action item. We didn't have very many agenda items for third, so this gives one agenda item for third. Thank you. Next one is JFC. Again, Dr. Day, it's you. And you had one item, right?
Yes.
JFC was one of the, I'm not quite sure why that was there on our agenda tonight. JFC is a student conduct policy, and I think my point was just that ought to be cross-referenced with the cell phone policy.
Okay.
That's the only thing I know about it.
Yeah. So we'll defer that for next meeting too, so that we can cross-reference with the cell phone policy. You're okay with that?
Yes.
All right. The next one is, Mr. DePaul, you had JFD.
JGD and JGE.
Let's say, Madam Clerk, do you have both JGD and
JGD/JGE.
All right.
Now, this was discussed in Discipline Committee. It's not a motion that we're bringing forward, so it's a discussion item right now, and I hope that we can vote on this. We want to add, we've discussed adding verbal threats, verbal language, vulgar language, cussing, swearing at a teacher to be added to the list of things that are to be considered for a long-term suspension. And it's just adding those words, vulgarity, swearing, cussing out a teacher, along with physical threats, hitting, assault or battery.
Is there a policy for the teachers to be written up by the principal if it's the other way around? I'm not sure.
Say that once more, please.
If the teacher is cussing at a student, if that ever happens, I don't think it happens, but
That would fall underneath unprofessional conduct under
there'll be
the
a
HR
write-up.
policies.
So there'll be a HR.
Is there a state terminology that deals
Well,
with this?
I don't know if the state has it. I'm using cussing, vulgarity, cussing, swearing at a teacher.
Yeah,
And we know, it's something that I think Dr. Tinsley brought up when a Supreme Court justice was asked to describe what pornography was. He says, I can't give you a verbal description, but I can tell you when I see it. What is cussing? Can I give you, yeah, I can tell you the 7 words you can't say on television. What is swearing? What is vulgarity? All these things in my opinion, and when we were discussing it at one of our meetings, something a teacher should not have to experience.
100%, I agree.
So we want to add that to be considered. Once again, not necessarily expulsion, but we're looking at this as something to be considered, to be brought before the discipline committee for consideration for long-term suspension.
Real quickly, some of those types of words can be used as threats, not just as an offensive, right?
Exactly the
So-
point.
So.
And we have been
noticing.
noticing that when they start the progression of vulgar language, it usually ends up becoming a threat. So we can nip it, we can add it. If it doesn't get up that further, the next time it does, it's what we were discussing.
Dr. Tinsley.
So the point that we discussed in committee is we want to be tough on misconduct. Our discipline committee we have stated many times that we want to support our teachers. I know we all do, but we want to really support our teachers, our principals, our administrators, our teachers in the classroom, and we want to up the ante a little bit. It's not just about putting your hands on a teacher. If you curse at a teacher, you threaten a teacher, you swear at a teacher, that's going to bring you before the committee as well. Our intent behind that is to be tough on misconduct, hopefully decrease or enhance good behavior within our schools.
Because we are in a business of providing quality and safe learning environment. And if anything is coming in path of that safety, and we got to take care of that as a policy matter. Then I hope this board agrees with that, and the enforcement becomes another aspect of that, that when board decides a policy, that policy needs to be enforced fully, not partially, fully enforced in every school, wherever that policy is applicable. So I was thinking, Mr. DePaul, maybe you can work with Attorney Towns, and we need items for December 3rd meeting. You want to bring it?
If you need items, we got, I'll write it up.
Right? Attorney Towns, would you work with Mr. DePaul to make sure this policy is in compliance with all the legal codes?
Dr. Gupta?
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dr. Day, go ahead, sir.
I want to point out that policy JFC also already has a reference to inappropriate language. This is listed under prohibited conduct. It says students are prohibited from using profane or obscene language or engaging in profane or obscene conduct. It doesn't prescribe a penalty, but it does already say that profane language is prohibited.
It's a cross-language policy, so once you have an independent standalone,
Right.
we can update JFC for that language.
If you added a phrase like may result in
No mays,
suspension?
shall.
Okay, shall result in, but shall is a different perspective.
Of course. And
It is.
to your point, shall means that they will be brought before the committee.
Okay.
It does not deny them of due process.
Okay. Okay, if that's what it legally means, because, I could say something really profane to you, and if I say it with a big smile on my face, you probably just laugh. I mean, really,
If
that's the
If
truth.
a student walking down the hall saying a rap song, it could have a lot. I think we're kind of saying when it's used in a threatening
Yeah,
manner
you have to
toward a
consider-
staff member
Directed
or
towards
another
it.
Consider
student.
the circumstances
Right.
and the intent, and it's hard to put that in.
But that's
But
why we
know it
have
when we
Attorney
see it.
Towns.
And the building, the teacher or the building superintendent will know that was the difference between I'm singing a melody, a nasty melody from a rap song versus I'll bust you,
Yeah, you're mad at the teacher and you're asking the confrontation.
Like I said.
That's what we want to prevent and also bring some penalty to those threatening, aggressive, angry, because we've seen some in the discipline committee that would make your hair stand up.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is that we're getting some of the language again is pretty appalling, and we're just kind of hearing about it through other cases. So we want to avoid that kind of threatening and demeaning language that our teachers are having to hear in some cases from our students. We want to be tough on that.
And may and shall has a difference of the wiggle room.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
the wiggle room makes the enforcement inconsistent.
Right.
So the policy enforcement needs to be consistent, and when there is a wiggle room, there is always discretion. and discretion will bring inconsistencies, and inconsistencies are not good in long term. So,
And we have to remember, this is a reason why we're losing teachers. This is one of the reasons is behavior. So,
you good? Mr. DePaul, you'll work with Attorney Towns, so we'll
I
have
would
an
love to.
item.
Looking forward to it, Hope.
And Dr. Day, if you want to jump in, feel free to jump in into that team of two.
Well, I was going to say that we don't want a situation where every time a student uses a foul word, they're brought before the board's student discipline committee. You'd have 500 cases a week. So there needs to be some discretion, and I think this is what Mr. Connor was getting at. We need to make sure it only specifies a required penalty when it's clearly used in a particularly malicious way. So we need to be careful that we don't make a policy that's we just can't cope with.
And not everything comes to, with the new policy made, it goes to a hearing officer.
Yes.
First, and the compromise offered by the hearing officer is not accepted, then the due process requires for the student to be able to appeal to the board, discipline committee, yes.
And the only thing I would say, Dr. Day, is that's why I think going with Attorney Towns and sitting down and hashing through the legal language and making sure that it says what we want it to say. So, yeah, we're not saying every curse word that's said is brought before the board, but things that are directed towards teachers and threatening, harassing ways, we do want to hear those.
Good, all right, we're good, so we'll discuss it again on this.
Sure.
Okay? Thank you. Next one is school board member reports, Gov School, Mrs. Lowry.
okay, CVGS meets 12-4, we haven't met yet, and Laurel meets 12-2.
So you took care of both Laurel and, excellent, thank you. STEM Academy, Mr. Connor.
Okay. All right, STEM Academy. We have 32 seniors and 27 juniors. 9 of the seniors are LCS students and 7 of the juniors are LCS students. They held junior orientation on August 7th, and they had to postpone the senior orientation. It was due August 8th, but there was a storm, and I think they ended up doing the very next week. On our meeting today, first semester is going well. 15 to 20% of the current students have already committed to state, seniors have committed to remain at CVCC as students, and most are considering secondary education at a college or university. Interim grades issued in October, they found out that physics has been the most challenging, and that's because most of these students have flown through math and different, when they got to physics, it created a greater level of study requirement, so they're really focusing on time management and teaching them how to study to master physics. They're having mock interviews this Friday for all the seniors, where they're going to bring their resumes and actually interview as though they're interviewing for those type of jobs. STEM promotions are scheduled in early, STEM promotions where they're promoting the STEM program. They'll be going and visiting each school in early December, all the schools that participate to try to reach out to the sophomores for the next. And then I got a couple more notes. They gave a financial report. Current revenues, $396,250. Current encumbrances, which word you like so much, Ms. $218,996. Expenses year to date were $61,431. There's available funds of $115,821, which is not all available because until our audit is done, so that will reduce that, but they're still in good financial position. They're taking Thanksgiving break from November 27th to the 29th. The end of the fall semester is December 13th. First day of internships, they'll be doing internships starting January 8th. The spring semester starts January 13th, and they'll have an information session for prospective students and parents on February 6th.
Thank you. Finance Facility Chair DePaul.
Yes. We just met a few minutes ago, so a couple hours ago. But it was great, because even though we appreciate Dr. Tinsley's input, he wasn't there today, so we actually left in about 45 minutes. It was really good. The agenda, I was really talking about was about capacity and zoning, and how we're going to be using GIS and some of the programs that the city has. We're hoping to. We're going to be comparing what's possible with the numbers, as well as what's politically expedient for who's ever coming up for the next election. One thing came up that was really important, and that was the transportation department needs to be included. They have their fingers on the pulse of where the kids are. And Dr. Connor, Mr. Connor, he has been a wealth of information just by coming here this one time. So I'm going to invite him back for several more meetings. We'll be focusing on more close-to-home opportunities, and actually try to create a demographic, a position of a demographer, so that we can help supervise through our own eyes. And I'm going to say create a position, but actually just increase duties of those already involved. Dr. Copeland and Ms. Jamies are going to be investigating the numbers and the dollars for what the additional software subscriptions will cost us. Based on a study from Hope, I'm forgetting, what's
Hope.
Watts. She says that there's about 20 to 25, and along with Mr. Connor, 20 to 25 buses could use an instructional aid. And based on what Hope and Ms. Jamies came up with, approximately $438,128.08 was going to be approximately what it is going to cost to hire enough aides. Now, the question does always come up is where we're going to get the money for that. So if we're going to get level funding,
Contingency reserve.
If we assume level funding, then we are not going to have the money for it. And if we assume that we might get the money for it, I don't want it to come out like we're flip-flopping on things, which we have been accused of, and it's not really what we're doing. But we do have two real goals that we're trying to accomplish. One is to go within the budget that they're offering to us. The other is to try to find more dollars through other parts of the city. And again, just to keep it fresh in people's minds, the track and field of EC Glass is going to need to be closed if it doesn't get fixed. And I'm not talking about just another topping. You need to bring it right down to the ground. And as Dr. Woodica was saying, it's between $1.5 and $1.7 million that needs to be done. And terms about who's the landlord came up, and we need to make sure that this does not reduce our bottom line, top line. This needs to be help from the city, or we need to close it down. So we're looking at what is the likelihood, what are the possibilities. So we're going to go between the dichotomy of those two goals and how we can best serve the schools, the teachers, the people.
Can I ask? So I'm assuming the EC Glass is on a CIP, which the board approved, right?
It is, yes, sir.
So the question is for city to not take it out from the CIP.
Pretty much.
And leave it there.
And hopefully not take it out of our bottom line.
Thank you. Next one is LSCR Chair Jalil.
We did not have enough members, and we did not have enough preparation to really make a good go at having a legislative breakfast, so we canceled it. And we canceled the meeting for today because of being out of town, members out of town. And we will either prepare a legislative advocacy list that we want to bring to Richmond by December, or at the very least by January, and have our meeting then, and then make a plan to go and deliver it to Richmond after their legislative advocacy days, which are coming up pretty soon. That's it.
Academic Success Committee Chair Lowry.
We're working with community leaders to bring awareness to parents of struggling students, planning phase for tutoring after school in the community with the aid of local colleges, universities, as well as during the school day and thinking outside the box using student sports facilities when they're done. We still have to come up with a slogan. Talked with Mr. Kirkwood today. I sent all of you the email about the pamphlet that we worked on last year with the administration. And we added a bullet requesting parents to look up free children educational websites. So plans are in the works with Ms. Boyd to get those partners to us that work with families to email them the brochure, and that they will be able to print out the amount that they needed, the different businesses will be. It's so important to prepare when you have your child from birth to the time they enter school, to prepare. And this way, because I can tell you personally, when a child comes not knowing anything, which used to be the motto years ago, it takes twice as long to get them caught up. So the more, even parents read to their infants, the more they know before they come to school, the better success for your child. So benchmark is being monitored. I gave all of you a list of what we received in the Academic Success Committee from the first test that was given, the first assessment. So this is a starting point. These numbers I know would make you happy, but we're starting with this new program. So hopefully as we see the next quarter and the next quarter, we should see the scores improve. That's the goal. But we're keeping a close watch on how students are performing and what can be done to help them succeed as well. So, that's
Thank you. Next one is by Mr. Andrews and Dr. Tinsley.
So our last meeting was November 7th. Next meeting is December 17th, the off schedule there. Just the Partners in Education breakfast still scheduled for January 9th. Planning is still going for that. And then they do the Pi Day each year, which will be March 14th. So that's really the only updates we have from that.
Next one is Ed Foundation, Mr. DePaul and Mr. Jalil.
We just made contact with them. We haven't really had an opportunity to schedule a meeting yet, however, so no progress on that.
Thank you. Beacon of Hope, Mr. Andrews and Mrs. Preston.
Okay. Go ahead.
You want to go? I got you.
Okay.
So they had the Virginia College Application Week, October the 20th through November the 1st. They came out with a lot of good data, and I'll share that with you as well. They are preparing students and families for December 1st opening of this year's free application for FAFSA, which is the Federal Student Aid application process. They will host it in-person and virtual appointments for students and families to complete the application. And of course, in January, they will host the FAFSA completion night at both high schools. And then they are also doing a career acceleration program targeting LCS graduates. This is for them and their parents to return to school, upskill, and or advance their careers. Services include career coaching, resume writing, interview preparation workshops, and some more things. In terms of stats for the application, Virginia College Week, they had about 968 applications submitted to a total of 109 schools. And then they had saved about $40,000 in application fees, which I think is actually pretty cool. So that averaged about $179 per student. Saved them some costs in applying for college. So,
thank you.
And they put it all together on a nice
There you
little
go.
information sheet.
Yep.
Great work they did.
Yeah, that was the greatest number right there. The scholarships over $900,000.
Yeah, there you go.
On the spot awards.
Thank you. Next one is Superintendent comments, Dr. Copeland.
Good evening, everyone. I'll be brief, but I've been spending a lot of time in school buildings, and we'll continue that all the way up to the Thanksgiving break. I've also been spending time with directors of departments, and it might not necessarily be in this building, getting out and visiting with them and seeing what their current challenges are. Just some good news to share. The Child Nutrition Department, under the leadership of Beth Morris, is always looking for grants and funding. and Lynchburg City Schools was awarded $63,625 for equipment, which does two critical things for us. It actually will replace aging equipment on the Heritage Elementary School service line and actually provide an opportunity to add additional options. And replacing a antique oven at RS Payne. Beth is always looking for things that are out there. I think her professional network amongst the state and the nation as a nutrition director benefits us directly when she gets these types of grants and work that help us help our students. Great information about what the Beacon of Hope did during College Application Week. They work hard for our students every day. Two good programs that I was invited to, one at Laurel for Veterans Day. They did an amazing program out there, probably recognized around a dozen different veterans from around the city. And then Bedford Hills, I thought I was going to a faculty meeting, and it was a presentation from a couple of students. I've got it sitting in my office now. They worked really hard on it, and it was the highlight of my day on Monday to be out there at Bedford Hills. If there are things that you need, you would like, schools, things you want me to go out and visit, take a look at, please reach out to me and say, hey, check out this, see what's going on. There's a lot of hard work going on out there. You heard the principals today. They have a laser focus on what the needs of our students are, and I think they are really thinking outside of the box and how they connect to students. When you think about the Dragon Wagon and the purple and gold teams and the things that Mr. Jambron's doing at DESI, they're working hard for the students of this city, and we're continue to do what we can every day to support them because that's what we're all working for, is we're working for the kids. And that's it. That's all I got.
Thank you. We'll start with board comments from Mr. Connor.
Oh.
Caught you off guard, so go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, my report accelerates my comments for tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Jalil.
I want to thank all LCS veterans and remember Veterans Day, remembering the people for their sacrifice, enabling us to remain free. I saw a digital billboard recently somewhere on one of these highways here in Lynchburg that talked about the attendance issue that we had spoken about recently as well. And it was some kind of encouragement to be in school, but it was a little bit generic and it wasn't as clear as it could be. Probably needed some marketing expert. It's colorful. Digital billboard, I think it was going south on Highway 460, I'm not quite sure. Maybe it was 5. But I think that is a really good idea, the digital billboard, making it clear and actually applying it to LCS. I'm not even sure if it was for the school system here or a particular school, but it was nice to see. I would like us to revisit the makeup of the Superintendent Search Committee, simply because it is a continual ask of our staff members and our teachers and those who work at LCS. Let's find a time to do that, or I can ask for it to be added into the agenda to review it. I would like to see an increase of opportunities for higher LCS grade levels to tutor or chaperone younger children, or even help teachers save time by grading papers, et cetera, et cetera. I'd like to see teachers save time that way. If we can get that organized
And
a
do
little
the
bit
grading
better,
papers.
it would be very good, for example. And I also wish we had $438,128.08. And if we get a penny more, please add it to the goal of having monitors in the back seats of buses so we can help our kids pay attention and not cause disturbance. Lastly, I think we should find more ways to shorten the distance between a behavior that we don't want in students and the opportunity for that student to modify the behavior through community service. There's so many avenues of community service in our area, not only in the Lynchburg City Schools, but elsewhere. Here's a few examples. Helping younger children to read. Pack and hand out food at a local food bank. Collect winter coats for low-income families. Aid local tourist commissions. Make books for underprivileged children in the community. Perform acts of kindness for rescue squad volunteers. Visit senior citizens at nursing homes. Rake leaves, shovel snow, clean gutters, or wash windows of schools, nursing homes, and wash school buses. That's a possibility. Clean up a vacant lot or park. Hold a donation drive for local fire departments, and clean up roadside trash. Volunteer at horse stables. There's all sorts of things that they can do. And I think that should be more of a behavior modification activity that we apply for the things that we don't like amongst the students. And I'd like to just thank this board for making progress. I like what I see, even in just the beginning of this school year. Thank you.
Mr. Andrews?
I'd like to give a shout out to Alea Andrews, my daughter. She's a senior at EC Glass. She got accepted to Randolph College. So she's going to Randolph College. Yeah, so I'm just a proud dad, man. So that's it. That's all I got.
Nothing wrong
Tell her
with
her
being
first
proud.
grade teacher
Right.
said congrats.
That's right. That's right. Exactly right.
Dr. Day?
Thank you. I just wanted to point out that I am attending the SBMA conference in Glen Allen on December 5 and 6, and I think several of my school board colleagues are at least considering it. I want to say that I've found SBMA very helpful and supportive of me as a school board member and would encourage others to attend. Non-members of SBMA can attend, although the registration fee is a little bit higher. The speakers are going to include the Virginia Secretary of Education, Deputy Secretary of Education, and Virginia Board of Education Chairwoman. Among other things, I've found these meetings to be an opportunity to talk with other school board members from across the state in a modest to small size, so that there's not 10,000 people there, there's maybe 80 or something like that. It's a very comfortable setting. But if you are going to go, you should try to complete your registration and payment by November 18, because the registration goes up then. And if you do go, please be advised the registration fee does not cover lodging. That has to be arranged for separately. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Congrats on having a new family member added to yours.
Your granddaughter. Congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Preston?
Is anybody else going to the
VSBA?
And oh,
I am.
okay, I just was curious.
Yep.
I'm curious about that. I'm looking forward to that because it's always a good time to learn some things and to collaborate with other people who have the same kind of goals and responsibilities as we do. So thank you for doing that.
Mr. DePaul?
I've heard it a couple times, and I really appreciate FJ's comments, but I don't know where I've ever been. Dr. Copeland, maybe you can help me. I don't know where I've ever been where employees get to choose their next boss. So when it comes down to teacher input, I'm really surprised that there is such a move to have that change. And please help me understand some way, somehow, how that works. I just find it odd. But welcome, Dr. Copeland. I really appreciate you being here. I think you're going to be a great asset while you're here, and I just look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Mr. Paul.
Mrs. Lowry?
I'm also going to both conferences. I went to T.C. Miller kindergarten play today about the gingerbread man, which was absolutely adorable. I also visited the Restore Academy today. I've enjoyed R.S. Payne, Heritage Elementary, Darrington, and bike presentations, and the kids were so excited. I also saw Our Place when the students at EC Glass performed it. I want to thank the veterans in our school system and our city, including Mr. Tinsley and Copeland, for their service. I'm a military brat, but I wasn't in the service. And I've also, after hearing the gentleman speak today, this evening, two gentlemen, I have been asking principals, counselors, and I'm going to continue to ask teachers and other people what they would like for me to ask when we do the interviews, because even though I keep hearing there's no teacher on there, while I still tutor in Lynchburg City Schools and I tutor privately, I am involved, and I said what I meant when I first became a school board member. I am here to represent the teachers, because I know for 31 years what it feels like sometimes, a lot of times, not to feel like you're being heard. So for those of you out there, I am coming around as much as I can. I want to be finished before Christmas break and getting input. So if you even think about it now, please email me what you would like to ask, and I'm going to put those questions together, the ones that are similar, and because I don't know how many questions we'll be able to ask because of time. So I want to be your representative, because I am still a teacher. I'm not on the payroll, but I'm still a teacher. I'm still teaching. I'm still certified to teach, and I am here for you. So you are being heard.
Thank you, Mrs. Lowry. Dr. Tinsley?
Yeah, I would just reiterate that. I mean, we really do legitimately want to hear from all the stakeholders. And I understand where the teachers are coming from, but we have to have a limitation to the size of a committee. And the limit has been decided to be 7. We've moved forward with the committee, and the committee will hear all stakeholders. I know words are cheap, but I think you'll see in time that that's a true statement. Would also, just in reference to Veterans Day, just remember that within the city limits of Lynchburg, you've got a National Guard headquarters and headquarters company. You've got Army National Guard. You've got an Army Reserve Center on Graves Mill Road. You also got a United States Marine Corps Reserve Center as well. A lot of these soldiers and Marines are LCS students, right? And former LCS students. And staff and teachers. So, just remember that when we're dealing with these students, we're teaching these students, we're thinking about these students, we're planning for these students. A lot of these students are going to become members of our military. Many will go off and be on active duty units, and we are training up the next military service members of our country. So I think that's pretty awesome, and I've served with a lot of former LCS students in the military, so it's been good. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tinsley. Thank you for your service, and thank you, Dr. Copeland, for your service.
Yes, thank you for being involved.
And I'm going to read, but I will say a couple of lines. For all practical purposes, Dr. Copeland, you are the superintendent. The board has chosen you to lead this school district, and it comes with all the powers and responsibilities. So you have the responsibility to take care of these kids, like they were taking care of them yesterday, today, and tomorrow they'll be taking care of them. Those are in our responsibility. That's the responsibility of this board, to make sure it's done seamlessly, and I'm hoping and praying you're able to do that without any hurdles. So I, for one, is 100% behind you, and I'm assuming other boards is, so that you can perform your duties efficiently and effectively.
Thanks, Dr. Gupta.
Yeah. Thank you. And then informational items are Discipline Review Data Committee meeting, Wednesday, November 13th, 3:30. Friday, November 15th, legislative breakfast, it's canceled. A VSBA annual convention, November 20th to November 22nd, Williamsburg. Please say hello to Gina Patterson for us who are not going. Next school board meeting, December 3rd at 5 p.m. here in the school board room. Next school board work session is Tuesday, December 17th at 5 p.m. here in boardroom. LACR is Tuesday, December 17th at 3:30 p.m. Which one did I miss? And then Finance and Facilities is Tuesday, December 10th at 3:30 p.m. Discipline Review Data Committee meeting is December 12th at 3:30 p.m. in the boardroom. And the Academic Success Committee,
December 3rd.
December 3rd
Before
at
the school board meeting.
3:30 p.m. in the boardroom. Yeah.
Just our meeting on Thursday, special called meeting.
A special call meeting, yes, thank you. There's a special call meeting on November 14th at 3:30 PM here. Dr. Tinsley, as chair of the search committee, you'll conduct that meeting. We'll be hearing from the 3 shortlisted search firms. And it's a closed session as advised by our school board attorney. And you want to say something? Or just
Well, I said it earlier, yeah. I think we're good.
Same time?
3:30.
That meeting starts at 3:30. These people are driving from out of town,
And that's
so
the
we have to make sure they're safely back home before it's too late. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.